actually gets involved. Dunks on to GMB, and he's gonna dunk on player one as well.
Pulls in for Immortals as well, and the wall bank comes through from Kohler, so the headshot, a sick falls down. 2 more to go. Damage to the line with Sinatra, but just under a 4K coming through. That's a 1 versus 1. Sinatra here, can he get the ace clutch? Recon Owl to come out. Now he spots him. He's straight through the box. He gets the frag onto Asuna, and the ace clutch coming in.
Who is this guy? Like, this isn't even Valorant. This is just Wardell's mind. He's just dominating that much. Drone opening up the kill for Wardell to get the ace kill. That's exactly
Wardell's
why
like, give it to me, give it to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pulse Series. I'm your host, Alex Nguyen, and of course, we're going to have some fun for, again, another day of full-pack action Valorant. This event is, of course, sponsored by AK Racing, AGX Play, and also Fair Play. AGX Pay, just want to let you guys know who they are. You can put your gold and your silver on an app, load it up, and use it. I don't know how that works, actually. You just put gold onto an application, then just start wearing a bunch of phones as a necklace? I'm going to have to download that app and check it out. But if not, AK Racing also, they produce, design, and quality check their own chairs at home, in-house. So that makes sure that you guys have the best gaming chair experience. And last but not least, Fair Play. They've been providing sporting solutions for a lot of the sports teams in the past 80-some years, and now they're dabbling into esports and providing sports solutions into that scene. So welcome to Fair Play. Last but not least, you guys just saw that video. This is all brought to you by Pulse Esports Arena. We're building state-of-the-art gaming facilities for you guys to compete in, hone your skills, and be the next #1. The next Ninja, the next Vansili, who knows? But with that, though, it's time to introduce our host and well, host is me, but our analysts, it is Lex and Veli, as we'll move forward and talk about the format. Boys, welcome to the stream. And first off, starting with Lex, we saw some good stuff here in the group plays yesterday.
Yeah, I think there was a handful of upsets to start the day, and certainly throughout the day there was more exciting Valorant. I think played, a team started to warm up, loosen up a bit, and we saw some interesting Asian comps, some new looks from teams that we maybe haven't seen or aren't used to at the tier 1 level. With mixed results, there was some successful experiments and I think some unsuccessful ones. So moving into the playoff bracket, I expect things to just heat up from here.
Yeah, Veli, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great. Day number 2 of this Valorant event, man, and I'm so excited. We saw a few heartbreaks yesterday. Was just talking about it, right? Complexity not making it along with a lot of other teams. But also, I'm excited to see my boys on China win, Renegades, and everyone else trying to make it towards the end. Pretty much, it's the storyline of these teams progressing, trying to get to the top, but also defining their own meta. It's been beautiful to watch. So I'm ready for all the games today because yesterday was a marathon, man. It was a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the marathon, let's pull out the group so you guys could see all the teams that participated during that group stage yesterday and see who's going to be advancing after. So we had 4 groups. We had 1 team or 2 groups of 4, 2 groups of 5, because originally we were supposed to have 20 teams, but with teams coming and going, we were able to get in with 18 teams moving forward. So the format was basically best out of 1 into group plays, and it's going to be the top 2 that advances into the playoffs. So we talked about upsets. We talked about heartbreaking moments. Let's talk about that really quickly, starting with Group A. Myself will definitely have to be complexity at this point. Veli, do you echo this sentiment?
Yeah, it's definitely complexity, and it was so sad to see, right? I've really become a fan of his gameplay, but it seems like with the different type of role change and agent changes that were on board, we saw AGM on a lot of Breach, which moved Calm off of Sova and put him on Phoenix, and he was going wildly negative throughout the series, which was something that we're not used to seeing, right? He's such a good player. So to see complexity fall short once again was heartbreaking, because after watching that game, we know that they're better than that. We just have to see it.
Right. Sure. And I mean, you just touched on it. I think that's a common storyline throughout most of these groups. And I think probably from the beginning of the tournament, we're probably going to see it throughout today, maybe till tomorrow, till we really kind of get some solidified roles. But most of these teams have shuffled their agent compositions on every single map since the Sage nerfs, since some of these agents adjustments. I think complexity definitely is going through some growing pains now, but you got to figure a tier 1 org of this caliber, it's a pretty big deal.
No, for sure. And I think just to add on to that, when you're talking about different compositions that's changed, and a lot of people in the chat too are like, oh, well, how come these or teams are not using Breach, for example, on Ascent and stuff like that too? It didn't necessarily mean that because Breach basically got a buff and everybody was talking about the 3 flashes that you necessarily had to use Breach, right? So we saw a lot of the teams that didn't use Breach, they went for a more standard combo. They had the Jet and Reyna actually on Ascent was very popular as usability. And we saw some really good matches, some bloodbaths for these teams too. So looking at the rest of these groups, I think my definite positives will have to look at Noble Esports, Mamba Mode Gaming, Luminosity, and Rise at this point. I don't really want to delve into too much of the negatives, but of course we're gonna definitely have to say that there's a soft spot in our hearts to not see Built by Gamers and Space Station Gaming perform that well.
Yeah, I mean, those two teams, I think like we had was it Noble? Like there was a few teams that we all kind of figured were going to be on the fringe of whether or not they'd make it out of the groups, but a couple of the favorites definitely fell short and we're definitely disappointed with our own results, I'm sure. And I think it's just one of those things where we don't want to dwell on the negatives, but certainly like that's just something that it's a reality of the group stages, right? It's so brutal so often when it's best of ones.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like you bring your A game, and if you get out or you don't. And here we are on day 2, and half the teams have already been eliminated.
Oh,
Exactly.
Vansilli, let me throw this out there because you and Lex talking about him so much yesterday made me fall in love with him. Later bot losing. I know it sucks that they lost, but that's another team I'm going to keep my eyes on from now on. Biotic Rain is an animal, so I definitely want to see what I just want to know what happens to this team from this point on. That's why I love tournaments like this.
Yeah. For sure, they're going to continue. So upon talking to Zid yesterday, the team captain of Leaderbot, before they actually went live, it's like, thanks so much, actually, first off, for putting the Leaderbot onto the stream, because originally we didn't have them before to be casted, so it was nice. Although it wasn't a quote-unquote important match for them because they weren't going to make it out of groups, but it still gave us a good opportunity to see how they're going to advance in the future. And they said, look, expect to see more of us. So these guys are the boomers that are hungry for more. They're not done with their gaming careers, and that lineup is probably going to stay, because when you're looking at it, usually a bunch of boomers that play and they still want to compete, they're just having fun with the game too. So I don't expect any roster changes that's going to happen with Laterbot, and you're going to have like that core of old school gamers of like Zid and Abe and POS to just continue to fry together as a core with Bionic Rain. And of course, I think it's DSK, right? They're 5th. And DSK has been around for the scene in a long time for Counter-Strike. But Lex, you talked about half of the teams actually getting eliminated and moving forward. So let's give you an overview of that bracket moving into day number 2 right now and into the day 3 and 4 of tomorrow. So we have a nice little snippet of Challenge. So big shout out to Challenge for that. But what we're going to be covering first. So we have 2 streams running today. The one right here, right now on Pulse Esports Arena, and a second one on /Northern Arena. Our first matchup casted on this stream is going to be China Win versus Mamba Mode Gaming, while on the B stream, Northern Arena, will be Morning Light and Beast Coast. And starting off you, Veli, when we're looking at this bracket, it's looking pretty stacked for China Win versus Mamba Mode and Rise versus Luminosity.
You think that's stacked? I'm actually looking at the bottom side of the bracket. I mean, me personally, I feel like the bottom side is, I think this bracket is equally stacked. I mean, me personally, so I said yesterday at the beginning of the show, I'm a Renegades fan, but Second Win was a team that I always hear about. I don't watch a lot of Second Win. I'll admit that, but I always hear about how great they are. Beast Coast, we saw them in action yesterday, Morning Light, yes. But the top side of the bracket, I think, to be fair, Mamba Mode versus China Win is going to be a banger. That's going to be the best matchup we're going to get in this first round. But Luminosity, I feel like they can cause an upset in round 2 if they can make it that far as well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I feel
that's
like
a hot take. So I mean,
I don't think you're wrong by any means. I'm looking at this bracket as well, kind of scratching my head. Like, there's a few performances yesterday. I'll just go ahead and say it. Teams like Beast Coast, I think I want to say Mamba Mode on one map. Like, there was just a few. Not all of these teams came out scot-free, squeaky clean from the group play. Like, I think a couple of these teams came out with 2 losses or at least showed some weaknesses at times. And so, like, when I want to move into a day 2 of a tournament, everyone, I think, expects, like, hey, we're going to perform better than we did yesterday. Like, we're lucky to get out of there. I think I don't think I'm incorrect in saying this, but Beast Coast made it out by like one
Beast
round,
Coast is one of them,
right? Literally one round they made it out of groups.
Let me
like,
tell you
so
about
you're
that.
moving into day 2, man. Like,
Yeah,
Like, this is a
yeah,
wake-up
definitely.
call for sure.
Let me tell you
Tell
about
me.
that group of death finally in that group D. So
Yeah.
it came down to, you talked about teams that had an easier run. China wins one of them, right? They went 3-0 in that one. You had Rise that went 4-0 in a group of 5 in that one too. You had Luminosity that went, I think, 2-1, so they didn't go squeaky clean. Morning Light went 3-0, getting the redemption out of that one. Renegades going out 3-1, and Mamba Mode Gaming at 3-1. So that means that Beast Coast was tied 2-2 in Group D with Gonzo Gaming
Yeah.
and Space Station Gaming. So Gonzo Gaming, and when we had the pregame, we were like, who the hell's this team? And then suddenly it came into a three-way tie where Beast Coast made it out, I think, by 2 rounds differential, Gonzo by 1, and then Space Station Gaming at even. So that means that Gonzo Gaming even had more rounds in differential over Space Station Gaming. So when we talk about heartbreaking coming out of groups, Space Station Gaming at that point is definitely the biggest heartbreak out of all the matches
They,
and
they
all the teams that
also
couldn't make it out before.
Right. They also lost the head-to-head. So I mean, like, on the other side of that is, I think for Beast Coast, like, they are certainly counting their lucky stars for getting out of that group. But I that group was so close, is what I'm trying to say, is that I don't
Yeah,
really know
it
whether I
was.
can judge their performance based on the other team's performance in that group. Because to be honest with you, Team Shiba didn't exactly show up yesterday, and
I was
Gonzo
gonna
Gaming,
say
we didn't get to see a lot of.
that.
We didn't get to see a lot of them yesterday. So for me,
Yeah.
you know, I as much as I love some of these teams, and I am kind of hoping that they are able to take it to the next level moving throughout this tournament. I think what I really was trying to get at is I agree with your predictions, and I think a couple of the teams that I mentioned on the lower part of the bracket, you know, in terms of Beast Coast, you know, even Mamba Mode had some weaknesses yesterday that didn't actually, you know, we didn't get to catch on our stream, but this is the test. This is best of threes now. There's no excuses of, oh, it's just a BO1. Oh, we got Annie Stratted or whatever. Like, this is where we get to see really developed series come out from these teams, and I'm excited for it.
And Vansillia, I do want to say this. Going off of what Lex said when he first started, we saw a lot of test runs of different metas, different lineups, new agents. I mean, for instance, MMG, they're using Viper on other maps as well. So it's like,
I
is
love
this
it, by the
really
way.
them at
I
their
love it.
best? I want to see everyone at their best starting the day. So all that test
I definitely
stuff,
wanna
if you're
see
not
that.
feeling comfortable with it, I don't want to hear
Mhm.
excuses why teams lost.
No,
Wait,
definitely.
are you like trying to turn them off from using the test Viper?
No, man.
I'm
you know
into it.
what? I want to
I
see
wanna
it.
see
I
more.
want to see
it.
the
So
Viper. Yes,
Yeah.
we
yeah,
better
so
see
so
Viper.
so as we talk about
Okay.
Viper and Mamba Mode Gaming, guys, let's actually get into that introduction because that's our first matchup that we have here,
right.
right? So
do
Mamba
it.
Mode Gaming versus Luminosity Gaming. Let's start off with Mamba Mode Gaming since we're already talking about them, right? So introducing the roster right here, we have basically We Did Valorant. That was like, who is this guy? I just saw him playing a lot with Wardell, playing on with Sabrosa on stream, and then suddenly now he's picked up by Mamba Mode Gaming. He's joined by Zek. I know Zek from like old school Counter Strike Go days when he was actually in main
Me too.
playing with Mobility Gaming with Daps and them back then too. And I was like, okay, this guy's a fragger. He's gonna get some stuff going. They got Critical, they got Chase, and then they also had Dior, and they had their pretty good run actually in the Knights Invitational, if not mistaken, right? We're talking about a tie with Envy. We're talking about an overtime loss versus the Immortals, and they had a very close matchup versus a third team too, and they're looking good for an up and coming team to compete with the top. But unfortunately, after that event, they just kind of fell off in terms of poor results, qualifiers getting knocked out and stuff too, where Bjor stepped out of the roster and went to find a different team to play for, where we saw he played with Build by Gamers yesterday. Now they add Osias, and I want to know, basically starting off with you, Lex, what's this team all about here in this introduction?
First of all, we better get clarification on how to properly pronounce that man's name sometime in the next
Hopefully it's not
5 minutes, because
Oasis,
I'm
and I said
100%.
Osias the whole
No, I
time.
don't. It's definitely. I think you're right, but it's okay. Point being, is like, I only got to watch a couple of the Mamba Mode Gaming matches from yesterday, and I only watched one last night before I went to bed because I was tired. But you know what, man? Like, this team, the few times I was flipping in between both channels to watch the other matches, like, I was impressed with the fact that their agent comps were, I'll say, like, 2 different times I saw them on Viper. I think both times were on Ascent, but I just am so excited when I see teams willing to take that risk. And there's so many people out there that are either like, man, Viper needs buffs, and I love seeing Viper, or you're on the other side of the fence of, why the hell are you running a Viper and not something more useful? But like, just seeing teams innovate in that way and find success with it. Like, they went 1-1 with it on the day. Like, I don't know this team well enough to speak to their character or their personalities, but they've got skill and they've got, I mean, the fact is, and this goes for any of these teams that came out of groups, but also the teams that didn't, like the caliber of play that we're playing at now is very shy off from tier 1 Valorant in terms of how close these teams are in skill levels.
Yeah.
Usually it's just team cohesion, experience playing together, experience within the genre and the game itself, things of that nature, time put in, dedication. These guys are hungry, right? Mamba Mode Gaming has already kind of shown to me that this team is here to play. You know, they had a tight loss against Renegades, and they're definitely not someone that you could just like not prepare for, right? Especially after yesterday, these teams are going to have seen, you know, how they approach some of these maps. We've already seen them once on Ascent successful with Viper, once when it gets counter-stratted, but just outplayed by whatever means possible by Renegades. So like these teams are throughout this tournament going to have to start changing and modifying and tinkering with their own strategies to keep it successful. I think that's their test moving forward. And on the other side, China Win, you know, you talk more about them after this, but you know, I think they are maybe the favorites in this matchup. So both these teams have a lot to play for right now.
Veli, let's bring up that head-to-head actually, so we could compare our star player between Decop and Critical, and you could talk about Decop and about China Win at the same time.
Oh, Decop, he's a fantastic Phoenix. I love Decop. And actually, a fun fact, Decop is top 2 for first bloods on his team. Him and DXN has been phenomenal. DXN, he has 11 in first, but Decop, he has about 9. We saw an example of that yesterday. We saw it in about the 3rd round. The fact that he's able to get his ult ability that fast in the series and utilize it to not just get a kill, but to get 2 of them on a really important flank, that's what makes him so deadly. Decop, you can find him lurking, you can find him entry fracking, you can find him doing just about everything because everything he does is just for his team. He's so efficient, and that's why I think China Win is so good. These players, they can be gods. Well, not gods. They can be really good individually. But the thing is, they're good individually in ways that help out their team. It's not all about how you get the kill. It's what you do after it and how it affects the game. And that's what he's great at.
Well, we have the map picks as well here, Lex. So we're going to go with predictions right now before we pass it over to the casters. So we have China Win picking Haven, Mamba Mode Gaming starting off on defense, Mamba Mode Gaming picking Bind, China Win on defense, and if we need a third map, China Win picks Ascent, and then we'll have Mamba Mode Gaming on defense. What's your take on this?
I'm interested in the fact that Mamba Mode Gaming just picked Bind. I mean, just look at the statistics here in front of us. We've got a 40% win rate on that map, and that's their pick. It's the worst out of the 4. I won't read too much into that because I don't have the information in front of me about whether or not those matches are recent or whether or not they're against quality opponents. But hey, here's the deal. China Win, a team that has a lot of experience, I think, playing in these tournaments. Mamba Mode Gaming, no strangers either. Like this, I feel like these teams probably practice against each other, right? They probably have prepared for each other coming into today. Mamba Mode Gaming with a pick like that has to be confident that Bind is going to go their way. So that map sticks out to me pretty hard. Ascent though for China, I mean, both those maps though. What do you think, Veli? Like China Win, Haven, and Ascent still favored?
He's China Win 100. Yeah. No, China Win 100%. Haven is their map. They've played Haven 3 times. This is the only map they've played this event. And check this out. The attack success rate, I believe, is about 48%. Their win rate on attack is 68%. They've won 22 out of 10 rounds. That's their map. They're great on it. I think China Win has that map on lock. We haven't seen them on other maps yet this weekend, which is different than the past because, you know, I always believe in any given Sunday. With that being said, I believe China Win is still going to pull out with the win.
So this is we're actually about to go into agent select. So last prediction for you guys. What do you guys think this series is going to be? And by the way, it's Osiris now. We know.
Osiris, yes.
I'm glad I asked.
Lex,
I'm glad I asked.
Lex, who you got, man? Who you think's getting his first dub of the day, man?
You know what? I just pulled over the matches from yesterday, and you're right. Like they played a lot of Haven yesterday. So I think if Bind goes the way of Mamba Mode Gaming and we end up in a 1-1 Haven situation, Ascent totally could go. You know what? If you want to go for China Win, I'll say Mamba Mode Gaming has a real shot at winning this.
I mean, we can take it to the next
Ascenting pick, but I think it could happen.
That's fine. We can take it to the next level, put the dollar on it.
China Win to me though, like I think you're right, has impressed me a little bit more. But I think part of that is it'd be unfair because we didn't get to watch them enough yesterday.
Well,
Agreed,
let's
it's not
get
a
to
big
watching
sample
right now
size.
because we're about to get ready to start the first map. Sorry, guys. So we'll pause it to the casters and let them bring it over. It's going to be Ryan Central and Simo to start things off on Haven.
Thanks, gents. Of course, I'm Simo. Alongside me is the man who still does not have his long boy mount from Battle for Azeroth. It's Ryan Central. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but we're going to be heading into our first best of 3, and I'm excited to cast alongside you.
We agreed to not talk about that, Simo. It's not my kind of thing, to be honest. But yeah, going into this game, we have some other lone boys. We have some Mambas involved going up against China Win, and I think this is a real interesting sort of mix-up. You've got China Win that have been probably the longest team, I suppose, when it comes to how long they've been together and been unsigned for. And Mamba Mode Gaming recently have just seemingly come out of nowhere, played a lot of smaller tournaments, and done significantly well from it.
You know, I think the biggest point that I think wasn't really mentioned on the desk was this killjoy for critical, seeing how that plays on the attacker side, seeing how that plays on the defender side. Of course, Mamba Mode here on the defensive side, a lot of that utility spread out between the middle and the A site. We'll see how it ends up being used as China Win. We're interested in the orb, but Osias sent Decop back where he belongs, down to the graveyard. We'll see how this 4v5 pans out with the rest of the time remaining.
It's interesting that you mentioned Killjoy. Looking at other tournaments that are going on at the moment, she was picked more than Cypher. Cypher was only picked for 1 team out of 3 maps that we've seen so far in other tournaments at the moment, right? So, like, that's an interesting sort of twist around to see what's exactly happening at the moment, but they're going to try their luck on the C site, but the problem is Mamba Mode Game are expecting it, and even a recon bot shows everybody up.
Yeah, they're starting to funnel through the classic Tailwind aggressive move in. I Love Mina going to be the first entry point, or at least the first fragger to find a pick. Now it's the 4v4. Things are kind of evened up. But look at China Win. They've got 1 member a little low. It's Pancakes, and he's definitely feeling that pain. But Mamba Mode are forced into this retake. The post-plant positions are nice and cozy here for China Win, as they've got a player towards the long side if things kind of go haywire, a player back site behind flat. We'll see if Mamba Mode anticipate that. DXN the first to fall, but it's Pancakes, the one who was injured, down to 9, finds 2. I Love Mina now has to get a little bit more involved, but reloading the clip. Oh my goodness. Osias, he's going to be taken out next, and now it's just down to Zek, but Pancakes, I have no idea how he survived that. All the way down to 9 HP. China win the first round.
And that was so scrappy. A great start, and I think it's going to show exactly how close some of these rounds are going to go between the 2 teams. China Win have had stellar form. They took their group, and they did it dominantly. I think the most rounds that an enemy team got against them was like 7, but they love to play Haven. It's one of the reasons why we're here first. It was their choice, and they've brought us here. And they've been on a hot streak at the moment. Mamba Mode Gaming don't have the cleanest record coming through their groups as they came into 2nd place. But just generally, the fact that they have seemingly come out of nowhere in the last week or so and started to do well in other small tournaments at the moment, it's going to be a difficult read for China Win, I think, to get to grips on this aggressive team.
I think, you know, the desk highlighted it well that, you know, this is the map that China Win has been playing consistently throughout this tournament. But the key is that we're no longer in best of ones. You can't just play your best map over and over and over again. You got to prove your ability to play on the rest. So Haven, if Mamba Mode are able to squeeze this one out, it is bad news for China Win, I think. And bad news is this site as it's starting to be taken over by China Win. Cute Fat Boy finds a shot from range with the Spectre in the sewers. The rest of Mamba Mode now starting to try to funnel through, but with pistols, there is only so much you can do. We did the last player standing, and he's going to be taken out through the wood there. China Win the 2nd round. Pretty understandable, Ryan, but now as we move into the gun round, what do you expect from Mamba Mode here on this defender side?
I think they'll want to very much play in the face of MMG. They have a map like this to really, China Win, sorry. They want to take these engagements early. They like to do that across different maps. It's mostly been the likes of Bind where that could be a lot more popular because you set up these executes, right? And you want to make sure that the attacking team just can't necessarily line up all of their silver recon bolts and stuff. You want to just get in there, surprise them, get a frag, and get out. So they're trying to play aggressively, but the Rain is kind of backed out on double doors, and the Eldron is going to alienate them a little bit. Osias hasn't spotted the Omen, is just trying to hop over to see if he can get a bit of intel at least. But that makes sound, and I think the Omen at this point will be able to hear it on the attack.
Yeah, unfortunately, Osias dropping down, getting a different angle, but now that Smoke going to make things even worse once again. I think at this point, Pancakes is just kind of playing denial of vision for the enemy team. And for Mamba Mode, they're investing a lot of resources based around this one Smoke. They've got 2 in the garage, 2 on the C site. For China Win, you know, if we had the same vision that we had, they'd jet line over towards the A site. The problem being, though, Ryan, is that Mamba are playing retake. All of their utility is down. They're fine and comfortable with leaving it there, and they can play retake if they want. They're unfortunately gonna have to play retake towards this B site. Critical buying an open pick, but it's DXN with the collateral, I believe. Finds 2 on the round. Zek and Weeded. Chase trying to find some space coming in from behind, as now the plant, of course, is down, but this retake's gonna be very, very sloppy.
It's hard to get around, but Chase has been able to wrap there. Having this window control on mid is so important for Pancakes. Going on a flank has taken this control, but the help of Mina puts us into a 2 versus 1. Chase, having no Leas, has to hope that he can get a frag and start using this utility. This is where Reyna can be incredible, but there's so many corners to check. He's given up his position and gets good spread to Pancakes, but I don't know if there's enough time for the defuse.
Oh! Chase, that's what I'm talking about. That is what Mamba Mode needed to unlock that gun round. But, Ryan, there's an obvious elephant in the room that was a very expensive gun round for Mamba Mode to win. You know, it feels like they won the round, but China Win won the war. You know, they didn't have to spend a dime after that second round. They had a flawless round 2, which means now they're going to be able to get a full buy. But on Mamba Mode, you're going to see it's going to be the assortment bin from the Salvation Army, a Bulldog, a Stinger. They're not going to be able to afford everything that they want and more. I mean, on the opposite side, DXN invested in the op. He's going to lose that, of course. But it's the rest of the team that I think will be very, very comfortable. And China Win are going to be looking for round number 4 here based on the weapon advantage.
Ooh, DXN hopping up into the air using the Blade Storm. Full accurate whilst he's hovering above. Zek wanted to play a bit of aggressively. You get some intel, and this is good because if he hears them moving away, that's great intel for the rest of the team. You saw the Reyna rotating away from C to provide help, but that Omen heard them move on, so he's like, go back, go C. They're going to try and bait us. So that was necessarily great from China Win. They might try and double bluff them, but at this point, MMG are pretty much set up across the map again.
Ooh, you hear that Empress from Chase? You know, this is either going to be the most impactful ultimate from Reyna or the least impactful ultimate. You can't have anything in the middle when Reyna pops the Empress there. And unfortunately for timing, misses those players crossing towards that left side. And so Chase going to be the first contact point here. You're seeing the rest of the team start to pull off this A side, or at least it's just Zek for the time being. With Chase now gonna have to deal with a lot of those players funneling in, and already that ultimate out of commission. Zek with the Bulldog trying to make, you know, matters and the situation a little bit better than it was before, just losing the Reyna. At least the Bulldog's gonna find one, but when you're flashed, there's only so much you can do. Now down to the 2v4. Nano Swarm down. Maybe trying to clear out some of those players holding on to the box, holding close. Not going to tag anyone. We did. Coming in from the side. Face full of lead from the op. Critical trying to take off the ponytail. Going to take out Pancakes instead. And the second through the smoke. Now the 1v2. Pushing forward. Has the lockdown available, but gets flashed in the process. Trying to push them out. That's going to be the spray. 1v2. Still has to defuse the spike. This lockdown is intended to push them back. But unfortunately, the spike is sticking down way too quickly for Critical to defuse. Now going to start to push forward. No players detained. Unfortunately, has to now start to run towards long, and it's I Love Mina that'll take him down. Escape spike explosion, and China win a nail-biting round.
I think Critical couldn't decide what he wanted to do there. I admired the play, but so much time had already passed at that point that realistically, was he gonna be able to catch people there holding a bit too close on C? Wasn't likely. The China Win still maintaining their lead. And you mentioned, like, these are going to be expensive rounds across these sides just because they go down to, like, 1v2 clutches in some cases, for example. It's how they play these anti-ecos. MMG are going to be in this scenario quite a lot, I would imagine, as might China Win. So they need to learn how to play. Take a leaf out of Space Station Gaming Spot because their anti-ecos are nuts. They just got to hope that they can get some frags, and that's a good start.
I bet there's a stat out there somewhere that tells us which team in the current North American Valorant scene has the most anti-ecos won. I would argue that Space Station's probably top 5. I mean, they don't have a lot of recorded
Like
matches
rounds under their belt, yeah.
like rounds recorded, like on the Spike GG. But I'd imagine that I would argue that their stat is probably incredibly high because we've seen such a phenomenal performance from them. I think when Bloom appeared at the FaZe Invitational, what a great performance they had there, really upsetting or providing their opportunity, their voice to say, hey, we're a good team and we're here to frag. But unfortunately, of course, Pulse already out of commission. We'll have to try again at the next event. And but the match at hand is China Nguyen, playing it safe. They don't want these anti-ecos, like you said, to kind of go out of hand. And I respect it. They already lost a player. Now it's the 4v5. And there's a Blade Storm here by Osias. We've seen how deadly these can be. Now as they start to come through, the Blades will find one, looking for the second. Weeded from the side, but already it's been traded as DXN will find 2 on the round, still trying to find some space to get this spike down, but there's only 10 seconds left. Needs to get those smokes down, needs to get the spike planted, will try to do so. Critical coming in from one side, that's the shot from the Sheriff that'll send DXN down. 3 on the round, and like you called it, Ryan, that anti-eco goes to the favor of Mamba Mode Gaming.
And they need to have those. They need to have those across this best-of-3 series in order to keep up. You mentioned Space Station. They had 9 anti-eco wins against TSM in their series against them in FaZe. Somebody like counted them all because there was that many. So it is important. I think certainly when you look at it, when you have like an MR12, so many of the rounds are going to be rounds where you can't really afford the guns, and there's so many more options of shotguns and LMGs that you could use, stuff that you don't really get to see teams really make use of in something like Counter-Strike. That they need to be good at these kind of strategies where money isn't going to be on the side, because realistically, how many full buy rounds do we see? This one, for example, yet again, it's going to be a bit of a force buy from China Nguyen with the Sheriffs, even dedicating the Blade Storm, which is so good on rounds like this.
I'm really interested in the setup from Mamba Mode. You know, I'm assuming they are predicting the anti-eco, considering you can look at your opponent's, you know, economy, but getting the spike down is a very efficient way to boost your economy back into the opposite direction, the positive direction. And so spikes down, now they're forced to play retake here for Mamba, but maybe in the long run they anticipated this because they are sending 2 down to the sewers. We'll see if Q Fat Boy is going to find a frag here. He does not. A tag, maybe. Nope, they're still quite healthy. Critical alongside Chase. Oh, it's Crossfire. Oh, at least finds one, but here's a swing from Q Fat Boy. Can't find the second. Chase now going to plow on through. Spike still ticking. The rest of China Nguyen starting to fall apart. Left, right, and center. But still, Ryan, an expensive anti-eco. Nevertheless, 3 members down from Mamba Mode. Spike defused, and we're tied up 3-3.
I'm telling you, whoever gets the first like flawless round is going to be the one that wins on Haven, because these aren't tidy from MMG. I respect the patience, the wraparound that worked out quite well, but both these teams really know how to make it problematic for the other team when they have very little utility on their side. But now the ultimates are starting to come online. You have the Hunter's Fury from Mamba Mode, plenty of places that they can throw it, but most likely going to be the late round where it gets used, and they run it back. This is something that I think we see D-Cup use quite a lot, being able to get frags and a lot of intel. And he seems he wants to hit the A site, create as much distance for himself, get as close to the A site as possible before he presses his X button, brings out this avatar of himself, I think it would be.
You know, for a moment there, my brain just shut down because I actually have my ultimate bind to mouse wheel down. So
Really?
When you said X, I was like, what are you talking about? 'Cause I forget that people have other bindings, so it makes a whole lot of sense. But we're looking at this spike now trying to be planted. The Hunter's Fury from We Did. He at least tags one near the end. And Mamba Mode Gaming's real plan was to just delay. Unfortunately, all of that utility spent did not delay anything or anyone. I mean, it delayed the spike for a few seconds, but now Mamba have to play the retake. They're going to start to push in. Mina's close, finds 2 on the round. Cute Fat Boy providing some firepower in the crossfire, and now it's just down to 2 from Mamba. Osias going to find 1 with the op, but unfortunately can't find the second or the conversion. They are critical with the op, and just like that, slips right out of his hands. China Nguyen back with the lead.
and MMG still able to get a couple of frags. It was a great round. That all of the utility that China Win had available to them. We even saw like a very dangerous from the shadows actually coming out of Pancakes, where he stayed a little bit too long in his like teleporting form, just to scout intel. Saw that the person that was playing on Heaven, where he teleported to, had the operator, wasn't looking to move, and they just isolated Critical from that point. Now he has to make do with a Sheriff. And we know that they could do stuff. It's kind of a half buy because some of the members do have Vandals available to them. And considering that they have these defending ultimates too, to retake certainly with the lockdown, they're not going to be too upset that they're in this scenario.
You lose one anti-eco, and all of a sudden, you start to get into your own head, I'd imagine, you know? How did they take us apart with Sheriffs? How did they do that? How did they get those weapons out of our hands and into their hands? And I'm assuming China Win on rounds like this want to play it safe. Because, you know, logically speaking, if you feel like you can out-duel with the weapon advantage, why not just go guns blazing and get the job done? But, you know, for China Win, it's best of threes matter. It's playoff bracket matters. For a lot of the teams that are still yet involved in this tournament are orgless to a certain extent. For China Win, imagine placing top 4 in a tournament like this. For China Win, that would be a legendary feat, and not to mention a sign to all the other orgs that have yet to sign rosters. Hey, look at us. We're a good team. Give us a chance. Now they're taking a chance on this T site. We'll see how they do.
Chase is paranoid. The Phoenix hot hand is actually given a bit of space for Chase to move, but he gets flanked around by Decop, who is still pushing on ahead. No ultimate here. He used it before, but he's still making some progress. We did catch him out though, and now the Hunter's Fury is going to be used on the attack. Asias is going to close that distance though. Smart play. Realized that his position was given up. Pancakes though, able to kind of get a bit of collateral going on with the spray, but we did. Knows exactly where he's coming from. The defuse is going to come in rather nicely. Yet only 2 members of MMG surviving. We haven't seen a flawless round so far, and we're 8 rounds in. Even with these awkward half buys, some people are Vandals, some people are Sheriffs, they're still able to do damage, which makes it scary. But you're right about China Win. Like, they won the Nerd Street Gamer tournament recently, right? Like the monthly, and then Taiti left the team, and then suddenly it's kind of like, oh, they would have been worth signing as that team before, but does losing a key player like Taiti damage them in some way? With Mina's addition, you got to say that they still look as sharp, if not a little bit better. If they win this tournament or even get towards the third and semi-final, grand final placements, they're definitely worth a looking at that point because they've been grinding for so long.
Now they're grinding their way to what hopes to be another spike plant for them, but the weaponry is not quite there. And Ostias, shot after shot, landing it in this long A side. There's still one player playing close and has to tailwind out of there. Decop has, in the meantime, made his way and worked his way through the sewers. The Stinger really paying off. Finds 2 there, opens the A site wide. And these anti-ecos are just too much for my heart. Too much. Unfortunately, the running back not going to find what it was hoping to look for. Decop now have a second opportunity at life. Gets into a little bit of a scuffle. Manages to survive on both ends. The shock dart looking to stop the plant from going through. The Empress has been popped by Mamba Mode. And Chase located up in heaven with that Empress. Looking to rain down from above. The rest of the team hanging around this A-Link side as We Did prepares the recon. Looks like it'll go up. Paranoia comes through from Pancakes. That might be the setup that they need. Decop finds one. Now needs to get a little bit more involved as the Hot Hands is down. Finds one. Now it's just one more player remaining. And he gets the headshot. It's the ace from Decop to put China Win back in the lead.
And not only was that like awesome mechanical skill, but the way that he used his abilities and ultimates was great. He used to run it back, which didn't get much. He got a little bit of intel, but what it did great is that he was on 33 health when he used the ultimate. when he comes back, when he respawns again with the ultimate, he's back to 100 health. Then he got hit for 60 damage. He used the hot hands, the blaze, sorry, to heal himself up. He healed himself for about 150 to 200 HP in that round, which allowed him to stay in that fight. That's what Phoenix is so good at. It's just been an absolute nuisance, pain in the ass. He's going to do it again, right, to Chase, who tries to be aggressive here. The flash is perfect, and suddenly ChinaWin have opened this up again.
You know, I have to commend that Veli's hype for Decop has continued to live up to that hype. His love for Decop, while showing how much he appreciates the play from the Phoenix player, it's well deserved. He's showing up and showing up big in a lot of these rounds, and especially in that previous round where it mattered most. This round, he flashes long, and you know, the two players with Sheriffs can't really do much. That's pretty standard stuff, but in this instance, for mambamode, we've got Osias here with the Blade Storm, trying to at least make it expensive for ChinaWin. That's going to be expensive for Pancakes. He's going to be taking out headshot to the dome with a kitchen knife. That's got to hurt. Still 2 players remaining. They might be looking for exits in this instance. Unfortunately, the Blade Storm can't convert onto a second. And once again, it's that curveball putting in work. Takes out critical. Puts us 6-4. 2 rounds remain, Ryan. Let's talk a little bit about potential score lines. You know, considering ChinaWin are kind of on this roll now, it doesn't feel like they've had a very convincing first half. It just seems very back and forth between mambamode and ChinaWin. What do you predict with the last 2 remaining rounds? What scoreline could we see finish here?
Is it going into half-time? I could see an 8-4. I think now that we sort of broken this deadlock of both teams really beating each other to a pulp and narrowly taking rounds, ChinaWin have started to warm up a little bit more now, and they've been so dominant in their results on Haven, right? So whilst MMG have been able to throw in a couple of curveballs and provide a couple of puzzling questions, I suppose, for ChinaWin to work out, they look stronger now. They're on a bit of a roll. They're on fire. And it's been difficult for MMG to hold this down. The defense hasn't been stellar by any stretch, and the killjoy, I haven't seen too much of how that utility's really been used, if I'm honest, from critical. So I could see ChinaWin dominantly winning this half.
This is scary, but I think ChinaWin smell this out. They see one, they see a shoulder. That shoulder's gonna be popped. There's still one more player, comes in through the door. Critical manages to find success onto illuMina, but now there are 2 players remaining. Make it 1. There's just one final player. It's Chase. He's got a Sheriff and a Dream, and that Dream is about to become a nightmare. And he's gonna try to hide behind the box, but it's Decop that snuffs him out. And that Dream of an 8-4 is coming close. And once we swap over to that second half, Ryan, you know, I really worry for mambamode because, you know, for the longest time, it's felt like Haven has been very attacker-sided. But as of late, with a lot of the different patch notes and the different changes, it feels like it's started to slowly cater towards the defense in some respects.
I could see that. I think it really depends on the teams and how they like to play. ChinaWin is notorious, I suppose, for playing very aggressively on defense. The way that there's no razor play, but on Vine, for example, blast packing as soon as these spawn doors open to get in the face of the attackers. They never expect it. They never expect those kind of aggressive plays. And really, MMG haven't done this. There's been no pushes, really down C long and A that's ended well for them at least. And Hunter's Fury is going to be used on this attack. And if it doesn't get a frag, it forces all of this space out. Needed to actually use an ultimate. But yet again, Decop has cleared that space with his ultimate. And suddenly these areas that mambamode need to be contesting, they've had to back off. Granted, they get a kill with the operator, but look how much space they've just given up towards mid.
I love that play from Pancakes. He teleports back to the attacker spawn, and he foils the plan for mambamode to try to flank in from behind, work their way up through the courtyard, and catch them from behind. And Zek tries to reposition to do that exact same thing once again, but Pancakes calls it out. He's like, he's heading back to the A site. Be careful, be prepared for a flank. And so that's flushed out. 2 players remaining. It's Chase, it's Osias. There's enough. It can definitely get spicy, but he's down to like 50 or so HP. Unfortunately, the flank for Pancakes goes sour. Down to 2v3. Very doable. Here comes the Lear. Here comes the push from Chase. They need to work their way through and check their 50s accordingly. Fat Boy in one of them, with Decop on the other side. Now as they start to come through, Chase gonna find one, and at least one more. It's down to the 1v1, but the clip runs dry, and mambamode Gaming finish with a 7-5.
And that's around that ChinaWin should have really had in the bag. They played that perfectly and had the ultimate utility ready to go. Didn't really use the Blade Storm, I don't think, from the Jet on their side. But really key play. Chase has been so good at being able to do that. And it's just a shame that Mamba Mode have had to rely on those kind of crazy Reina clutches. Already too much, in my opinion, on this defending side. Now they get to attack. This is where we should see Sias and Chase unlock themselves a little bit more. They have a really aggressive composition. And Critical, it's difficult, right? Like, Killjoy, you need to see stuff out of her on attack, but the utility really doesn't help other than, you know, watching flanks like the turret set up to be.
To the defense of Killjoy, if you're replacing Killjoy with Cypher, that's pretty much Cypher's job anyways, right? Like, if that's ultimately what you're supplementing the Cypher for, then I think it's okay in the grand scheme of things. The big picture, though, is having this kind of blend of Brimstone and Cypher in the Nano Swarm, how you can not only stop flanks from occurring, but also be in a position to deny diffuses, right? And ultimately on the attacker side, if you can do that from a distance, well then big pogs, right? That's amazing. That's great. So the big problem though for Mamba Mode is they need to get the spike down, and it's ultimately up to China Win to play around how they want to defend each of these sites. So far, it seems like a little bit of a split across each map, and now it's a gamble towards the A site, stacking 3 there. And with caster vision, Ryan, we can tell that this is the correct call for China Win.
Oh, definitely, and really, Mamba Mode haven't put too much pressure on any other parts of the map. Decop, an easy prediction. All the utilities going to come push up their positions, but really, Mamba Mode haven't been able to act upon it. They do trade a couple of kills and able to get the man advantage, so it did work out in their favor. But that could have gone either way at this point. It's up to China Win, the 2 surviving members, to get some damage in. Pancakes trying to make his way in, but the shock bolt's nice just to chip away damage. Pancakes doesn't have all the health in the world. Critical's gonna watch that flank. Really important round for Mamba Mode to be keeping in. But I didn't like the fact that they sat back so much on their attack. They didn't put pressure anywhere on the map, and China Win could have an easy read that the A site was going to be hit. The issue is they weren't expecting all that utility to be thrown out in that way, and it really caught them off guard.
I think, you know, for Decop, I like the curveball. I don't actually remember if he had another one in the tank. But I would have loved to see a little bit more support from the rest of his team, because as he flashes, it's obvious he saw one. But in the back of their mind, I wonder if they noticed that there was going to be a few more running through. And now as we're seeing Mamba Mode, that camera actually spotted several players, but they just want orb control. Get the orb, go back away, and we'll see where they end up, looking like the B or the A site. Still working the C angle, as they're just trying to send shots through and maybe pick somebody off by accident, get lucky with a spray through. But Osias is the only one that's left. Still interested in C. Very interesting play. We'll see how it pans out.
The Cypher's playing a super close angle here. Might not be expected. He only has the classic 2, so maybe hoping that the right click just gets all the headshots in. MG keeping an eye on it though. But they're kind of expecting somebody to be around that corner. The paranoia is good, and they do spot him out. Luckily, the utility hit just at the right time, and they explode onto the site yet again. The way that they used their utility, they used the lair, the paranoia all at the same time. They created space for themselves. It's going to be difficult for China Win to play these retakes with how explosive MG are.
You know, in that instance, if I'm Q Fatboy, I'm just holding that angle and trusting that Pancakes is gonna keep an eye on Long. And in that moment, I just imagine cute Fatboy, that gif of Jordan Peele just sweating, just literally liquid just dropping down from his head, and he's just like, a lot of pressure here. Gotta get at least one, gotta get at least 2. But you know, for MMG, they push forward, and like you said, you called it explosive. Just explode onto the site, spike down. Don't even give China Win an opportunity to re-enter the site or even get a pick. You know, try to nullify some of that economy, because we're seeing Spectres across the board. That's weaponry that they've had from the previous round. Of course, China Win will have that advanced weaponry, and this is the gun round that we were looking forward to tell us who's going to start the tempo of this half, of this second half, because that's going to be key. If Mamba can do some damage with these Spectres, even win the round, I'm extremely concerned for China Win on their own map pick.
Be a tragic one to lose. I like what Mamba Mode did there. They put a lot of utility towards B, broke a few of the tripwires. It now forces China Win to very much keep an eye on it. More utilities being used here, and even the lockdown. The thing is that China Win is expecting this. And this is a clear telegraph that, hey, we're going to be hitting the B site. So maybe they could use this to wrap through double doors to try and catch where the Omen is now, move over to C. That's exactly what they're going to be doing. So the bait does work to an extent to keep China-Win's attention, but QFatBoy is expecting it. Pancakes too, but they're the first two to die.
That was an incredibly weird swing from QFatBoy, not gonna lie. He wide swung from the box, anticipating players to come through the cage. And then when he looked to his left, to see who's, oh, there's somebody in Garage Connector. And then 2 players come out from the cage, and then he's like, okay, well, now what do I do? There's just too many players. I think if he just held on for a little bit, he would have actually made it very difficult for mambamode to get onto the site. I know he needed vision. I know he needed to see the players. He needed to call the players out. But unfortunately, I think him dying there, or at least not dying with one pick, taking one player down with him, that would have been a little bit more doable for China-Win to come out with the round. But as I pointed out, that was the gun round for China-Win, and it slipped away from their fingers. And now this is the momentum that's going to start building up here for mambamode. They had a flawless round 2, and now the gun round for them into the eco for China-Win. This is scary stuff here for the defense.
They're stacking, and it might be a case of sunk costs here because the defenders are still pushing. They're going as far as they can. Weeded is expecting a jet around this corner, though. Still able to get a frag. Tries to get out, such as jet fashion. And even eco get some damage, and these anti-ecos have been so good from both sides. And even now MMG having a clear advantage when it comes to guns. We're in a 3 versus 3.
2 players in the sewers. 1 player coming in from yellow. It's QFatBoy. They're going to start to divide and conquer, at least push forward. They don't anticipate the flank from Cypher. Now down to the 1v1. As you called it, these anti-ecos are wild. QFatBoy setting up an entire camp with some baked beans for the good morning breakfast. Starting to defuse the spike. Has the Vandal in hand. We'll get it to half. That's going to be the tripwire. Oh, baby. China-Win. They come back swinging.
That was so smart. I loved what QFatBoy did there because he put the tripwire up when the cyber cage was down. So that's probably something that the Reyna wasn't expecting or might even hear at that point. But he stuck the defuse. Chase wasn't sure if he could get the shot and probably had his team just pinging the spike, but wasn't quite catching him on that angle. Was forced to push aggressively. Tripwire trips him up just as he gets halfway on the defuse as well. So it's an easy frag, and the way that China-Win played that means that we are still even up on score. MMG might have to eco at this point. They still have money, at least for the case that we did. But ultimates are on China-Win's side, and I think if D-Cup could use his ultimate in the right way to run it back, they could pull the lead again.
Something, of course, even more important to point out here for China-Win, it's the double op setup. It's DXN, and I'm going to imagine I Love Mina or maybe Pancakes as he's looking down C long. That would make the most sense to me. But they've got this double op setup. And if mambamode can play around it, that's going to hurt China-Win. If mambamode can't play around it, it's going to hurt mambamode. So as they now start to push in, we'll see how this double op play starts to come through. China-Win anticipating the C push, a great read as they hear a lot of that utility in the garage. We've got 4 members committed towards this C site in anticipation. Pancakes, as I said, with the operator here, waiting for the push from the garage while the rest of the team will cover the long push in. And it's Osias, who's got his own operator here, ready for the team to call the push. But from the shadows, gonna gather information backside. Pancake sees one, and as they now start to come through the garage window, it's DXN with the op that sends Zek down. Hunter's Fury to try to make matters even worse as they now start to funnel through. Chase with 1, healing back up to full, and still looking for the remaining members that are on and around the site. With the spikes out of his hand, QFatBoy is gonna find 2. Osias makes it expensive. We did find some more, but it's DXN with the blades to seal the deal on the round, and China-Win regain their lead.
And I think that came down to Pancakes just holding that angle the whole time. It made it so mambamode weren't necessarily sure how to break onto this site. They played it super late. They were trying to get China-Win to double guess and second guess what site was going to be hit. But they just kept their patience. Pancakes used the teleport to get around that he didn't show himself to either C long or where Pancakes is now. You see that sort of sight line going onto the C site. He moved around, it forced ultimates out, and the rest of the team adapted and punished them for their positioning and aggressive stance. MMG is starting to lose things now, though. Osiris is going to be bringing out the Blade Storm, but might not be expecting Pancakes to be on this box. And this double suicide angle setup now these guys are holding in double doors.
They are willing to die for their team. For the success of the team, they will do anything. And this little cheesy strat could come up big. But fortunately for mambamode Gaming, their patience is one to be desired. They pull off. Pings start to come through. ChinaWin have Decop in a great position for this now developing push towards the A side. Will he find one? Will he find two? We are moments away from that answer. Curveball. Unfortunately, he gets stuck with it in his hands, and Chase gonna take him down, opening up this A side push. Ilomina ready with the up. That's gonna be the Lear that's taken out of commission. But look around, look above. It's Osiris as he goes airborne, takes out Ilomina, and now this A side is as good as mambamode Gaming.
And I really like that shot that kept them at bay, but the size is still able to be aggressive with the help of Weeded and Zek. They burst onto this site, but it kept the jet away exactly where Size was stood now. A shock dart came in, and it actually forced, it would have been DXN away from that angle with the operator because he was looking onto the site, could have probably got a frag. But MMG created so much space for themselves. We need to see more of that. And yet again, these teams are still trading rounds off each other, even though both of them had a bit of a winning round streak sort of midway in this game. But now we're getting into the business end of it. Few ultimates available. Another lockdown for MMG. They had to play awkwardly around their last one, but it's going to be key for this round if they get a chance to use it. Try and bully ChinaWin across and away from some of these aggressive angles that they have been holding.
I have to say I've been very impressed with mambamode Gaming. You know, for the longest time, I think it's safe to say that ChinaWin has been around some of the great teams, have shown some great performances, very particularly in the FaZe Clan Valorant Invitational. But here we have mambamode Gaming really proving us they're able to roll with the big dogs, but not to mention keep a competitive match. Like you called it, this is back and forth. No clear winner has been decided. Once we hop over to Bind, that's going to be another great question. Once we hop over to Ascent, if we get there, how do those maps play out? Because Haven is super close. And as we start to near the end of this second half, these back and forths is going to be costly whoever's on the back foot in terms of the economy.
ChinaWin have read this really well. They know that this is going to be a late play. It's a lockdown again. I actually think it's going to be used to destroy it and doesn't get a frag, but DXN can follow in. So this play, MMG tried it last time. It worked out relatively well for them. ChinaWin aren't letting it happen. Pancakes has a nice angle. They're not expecting him to be here. Gets the Omen, but just whiffs away. Like he should have got a cleaner headshot there and he'd be able to snap better, but unfortunately just misses out, has to double glance. And it provides an update for MMG. It's a round that they shouldn't have won there. They played that too similarly to the last round where they put the lockdown there. ChinaWin punished them, but they couldn't clear up the round.
But the last time they did that, they just went C instead. They were trying to sell the fake towards B, and it didn't work. It wasn't a good enough pitch. And so now that they actually hit this B site, ChinaWin on the eco were prepared. I mean, made it relatively expensive. And I think in that instance, Pancakes could have gotten the second one if, like you said, he got the headshot. But, you know, it happens. Now we've got a full gun round. And this is going to be a major turning point, Ryan. Whoever comes out on top is really going to start to snowball the rest of this map. mambamode Gaming have that opportunity, and as does ChinaWin. We'll see who comes out on top with 1 minute and 15 seconds left on the clock.
I think MMG know how much they're telegraphing now, because they pulled ChinaWin away. They're expecting this play to be around mid. And MMG are trying to do stuff around the extremities now. They've got the jet pushing C long. So they make their way through Garage. They're spotting out a lot of intel with this Empress. And they clean house. ChinaWin, what they've been doing is they've been double peeking on A long, pretty much waiting 30 seconds and going, okay, they're not going to push A. Because they've just, MMG have been playing so telegraphed this whole time. But they used it to their advantage there, put a bit of pressure on mid, forced people to rotate away, then just barreled their way through Garage and C long. And it's going to be so difficult for ChinaWin to play this retake, to the point I actually think they're going to be saving their guns.
It's the correct call. You know, they just came off of an eco the previous round. This is their gun round. As you can see, Decop with 500. I'm going to imagine the rest of the team are in some similar shoes. But overall, have to really give credit where credit is due. Chase played that so well, but the rest of his team supported Chase even better. Chase popping the Empress there, finds a pick, and then at that point, it's over. It's over. The invisibility, popping in and out of it, finding the information onto I Love Mina, who is in the garage window. Walks in, he's invisible. I Love Mina has no idea there's a Chase looking at him, and then he just pings it out or calls it out. Spray down the right side of the window, and we're going to get a beautiful 3-piece on the round. And just like that, Mamba Mode Gaming, 3 rounds chained together, are on the precipice of closing out China Win's map pick. And I know that the analyst desk is going to go wild. I know that Veli's a big fan of China Win, but to see them fall in this fashion, Mamba Mode Gaming just slightly more decisive, slightly more organized, it's going to hurt.
Lex predicted Mamba Mode. I think he did it more of as a meme note to try and go against the grain, but he's going to be happy with this.
Yeah.
He lost so many predictions to a coin, remember, in Popular, so it's a great way to start these playoffs at least. But you're right, like, the way that these guys have been playing around their ultimates and utility, they just treat ultimates as utility, right? They used the Hunter Sphere to clear Garage to push them back, and then went in with the Empress. So they don't really have much available to them this time. The Recon Bolt's not going to be useful, but it narrowly, China Win almost pulled them away to hold on to the seaside. To an extent that the Omen is going to be there, and Chase is now going to put a bit of pressure onto the Silver. But China Win haven't got a good read on MMG now. They're playing very differently to how they started. China Win having to play passive because we're almost on match point.
And you can even call it, you know, you called it how Mamba Mode have been playing, but look at the resources spent from China Win. 3 stacked towards the C site in anticipation. They hear Chase working up, right? Chase takes out the Owl Drone, he fights the solo player, and so now all these players funneling over towards the A site need to make this work. Lockdown goes down. 2 picks already found out by Mamba. DXN rather, sorry. I Love Mina will answer back. That's going to be 2 on the round for the Sova. Now down to the 1v2. Lockdown about to come through. Several seconds remain. There's a player up in heaven, but it backs away and manages to survive this one. Player detained. Now, a 1v1. Critical versus DXN. Operator versus the Vandal. Knows that there's a player down. Has to maybe jump down. Tries to get the beanie, but unfortunately hides into the night. And the shot's good from DXN. A crucial round for China Win to win. Puts us at 11-10.
And that was a really good lockdown ultimate used as well. It was so responsive. It's like Critical got a kill onto Pancakes, I think, and then just slammed it down. It's like, okay, we're going. Because it made it so awkward for China Win to play for that retake. They were doing some damage, but it completely cut out the Silver Mina, and they weren't sure how to really go about it. They tried to push aggressively to try and clear the ultimate from Killjoy, but because of its placement, it was so difficult to do that. You caught between rock and a hard place. Do you try and push further into the radius to try and kill it, or do you back out like the Jet did? Luckily, it worked out for DSN's favor there. It needed to. MMG, close, but not close enough.
The fact that we're so close to match point here, the economy is scary. Whoever lets a round slip is in a very tough position. Fortunately for Mamba, they're capable of buying again. And I'm not sure that I can safely say they will be able to in the round to follow. We're trying to win off of that round, have obviously been able to buy up additionally. But their economy, I think, is looking a little bit more worse for wear than Mamba is. So Mamba can afford to lose 1. China Win cannot. So pretty standard setup. They're trying to read their opposition. Playing a little bit more spread out, which is what I would hope they have adapted. Mamba Mode playing a little bit unpredictable. They've got 2 towards this long side. They're going to start to work their way up. Maybe sell the A site and then hit C. We'll see how it pans out as Chase is already working his way in.
He's pulling the rotation.
Oh,
just needs
my
to make
goodness.
as much noise as possible. Cute Fat Boy will have his camera. He'll put it out. You'll see that there's only one there. We might see the rotation move away. Yep, the Jet and the Phoenix and the Omen turn around instantly. So the spike is going to get planted in time. And Chase thinks that he's home and dry at this point. He might have killed it, but at that point now he's just on lurking roll. If he can get in behind him to get a frag, it would be necessary. But now he needs to run from one side of the map to the other. Can kill Cute Fat Boy at least, but his help is very much needed on the C site now.
He's going to start to beeline his way over. I would sprint as fast as I could now. At this point, Critical is going to try to tag one. I think he does so through the box, but they have unchecked. Osias backside with the op. Can't convert onto a second spike. That's going to be the fake on the defuse. Chase going to find one. DXN on the other. It's back down to the 1v1. Jet versus Reyna. Defuse starts to come through. Chase needs to get involved. Dixon looking for the shot. DXN cannot land it. And Chase will let that spike explode. 12-10, a match point for Mamba Mode Gaming.
And Chase not dying there could be the difference now, because he kept the operator, handed it over to DXN. And man, China Win are going to be hard done by there. I do think that they should have stuck it. Handed it over, sorry, to Osias, not DXN. It was DXN that went for the defuse, got it to halfway, wanted to re-peek it. I honestly think they should have stuck it. Pros don't fake. And that may have been the difference there. These clutch runs have been insane, but every single time it's been needed, it's the Reyna that gets the frag. And it's been so good from Chase.
Early pick from Osias. China Win is starting to sweat. They've got the Hunter's Fury available. They have the Neural Theft available as well. Things are starting to come through, and Chase is looking to seal the deal on the round. Empress popped, looking to be impactful. Same on the opposite side as Decop with the Phantom. Trying to work his way through. The shot is good from Osias through the curveball. Now down to the 5v3. China Win in trouble here. Is Mamba Mode preparing for this B-side push? They've got the spike, they've got the headshot, they've got the Empress now putting in work, giving them so much space to gather the information. Chase with a second, down to one final player. It's Pancakes who finds two, but his alter ego, the man in the mirror, Zek on the Omen, will clean up here for Mamba Mode Gaming. They beat China Win on their own map pick. Now I am very afraid for what Bind is going to look like for China Win.
And it needed to be a great game for Mamba Mode Gaming. It really suited their playstyle. Like, Chase is the top fragger, but he was certainly the MVP with the impact that he had. It wasn't even a case that he got a lot of first bloods. In fact, it was Critical that had the most across the server on Killjoy, which says a lot, I suppose. It worked out quite well. You can't really look at frags too much. I think there's a lot of discussion about this before of like, oh, so-and-so's bottom frag and he's not having impact. Critical had some really clutch moments with the ultimate, certainly, and that's probably one of the reasons why Killjoy's being picked over Cypher in some cases. But that was just the Chase clutch show. He was insane across that. In regards to other results, Renegades did take map 1 against Second Wind. I'm not sure what map that was. But like that's an expected result, I think, at that point. Renegades wanting to, prove that they deserve to be in the latter end of the playoffs, because yesterday they looked shaky at best. But this isn't a good start, I think, for China Win, who looked so good through their group stages. First loss in this tournament, they want to make sure that it's not, going to be attached to another loss in the next round, which is Mamba Mode's gaming map pick, and that's Bind.
Yes, I mean, they haven't played it during the Pulse series quite yet. It's only been Haven and it's been Ascent. And so to see the Bind coming out for the Pulse series is going to be interesting. Will we see the Viper, the infamous We Did What Viper? He brought it out yesterday on Ascent. And that was something that worked well against Pretty Boys and then not so much against Renegades. And here's going to be kind of that middle ground with China Win. What does that look like? And, can it really stand the test of time against China Win, a team that is prepared and has been prepared against multiple high-level opponents? Will it work? And it's really the big question, I think, for me.
Yeah, Bind's map record, China Win's, map record on Bind isn't bad, really. They've taken some really good results, but they did lose against FaZe Clan in the FaZe Invitational 13-3, so... And let's be honest, FaZe doesn't look too great. I think they would have been a good fit, like, in this tournament. You'd expect them to do relatively well, but they certainly still have some teething issues. They're still a new roster trying to work out what they wanted to do. So losing against that team at that time, not really a good look. Mamba Mode Gaming showed that they can play explosively with good use of utility. That runs wild on Bind with those executes. So I would expect to see them a lot from Mamba Mode Gaming. China Win need to do what they love to do in other games on this map. Play aggressively, push the extremities of the map, push through baths, push B long, try and push a shot when you can if they're going to use the raise. that is how you win this. You don't let Mamba Mud Gaming play their game. Don't let them slow down the pace and pick and choose where they want to go, because they will run rings around you.
So looking at some of the previous maps here from China Win on Bind, their most recent one was, as I call it, at the most recent FaZe Clan Invitational. And FaZe Clan took them 13-3. So China Win, I hope that since then there's been a lot of time, different changes, different patch notes have definitely transformed the game a little bit. Sage no longer as prominent. And Killjoy has been introduced to the mix, and Viper has seen a little bit of life adjusted to her. So it'd be very interesting to see if that was just the patch that China Win weren't really that comfortable on, or didn't really have the development of their team in the right position. I think that might have been also around the time that Tai T was in and off the roster. So they might have just been gelling with some new teammates. There's a lot that could possibly be going on in the past couple of weeks that China Win have developed. So it's their bind map that I think I'm most interested to see. But Ryan, if we look at this logically, right? Every team is supposed to win their map pick, logically speaking. Or they pick the map that they are most comfortable with to give them the highest chance to win. Trying to win, pick Haven, and then lose their map pick. And so now Mama Mode it's like they're taking them to their turf. They're playing one-on-one basketball in their court, in their home court, in their backyard, in their neighborhood, where they are the most comfortable. And so for Mamo Gaming, really the win condition is just play your darn game and catch this dub. Like that's really all that they can do.
Well, I was just gonna say that because like the 3 games that China won in groups were all on Haven. So yeah, you can look at the results. Okay, they won 13, 17, 5, 13, 6. That's dominant. But if it's all on the same map, and then they lose that map as we just saw, you kind of wonder, well, how are they going to do on the other maps? Compare that to Mamba Mode Gaming. They played Ascent, they played Haven. It was a mix. They did lose on Ascent against Renegades, but we're not going there unless it's a best of 3. Bind should be their home. They want to play it. But I kind of disagree with the whole idea of like, oh yeah, if this team picks Ascent and that is like their key home, there's only 4 maps in the game. Like Counter-Strike, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like there's some teams that are going to ban Mirage every single time because they do not want to play it. They haven't practiced it enough. But when there's only 4 maps and various formats run bans or picks in some cases, even in this tournament, there's been bans and picks across like the groups to the playoffs, right? You need to be adaptable across your maps. Yeah, you can avoid split. A lot of people try and do that, but you need to have a good bind and an ascent. You can't rely on out-fragging people on Haven, because if something like this happens, you're going to get caught out.
That might even be the case here. China Win, I think have really developed as a team, but one of the things that I really wanted to highlight, or at least put on a pedestal here for Mambamode Gaming, is I think that they've done a fantastic job of ever so slightly changing their identity as a roster. I think for the most part, we did up until a few weeks ago was primarily the Jet player from Mambamode. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that is the safest bet, because he used to be the Opera. He used to be that player for Mamba, I think. And if I'm correct, that means that the rest of the team had a different agent pool. They were all trying out, a different composition. But now, putting Osias on the Jet and having the rest of the team chase now on the Reyna, not really an agent that I think the top tier teams play, I guess, up until the Pop Flash tournament. We haven't seen a whole lot of Reyna. People didn't really trust her ability to make plays. But Mama Mode Gaming are playing this compositional style that I think is very interesting. They've got Reyna, they've got Jet, they've got 2 duelists, they've got some control, and they're also leaving the control on certain maps in the hands of Viper. And while I've seen in previous tournaments the Viper for Mama Mode Gaming not really work out, but they are determined to push it to the forefront, to give it their best shot, and to show us that it is possible to snap, crackle, and pop on Viper. And against China Win, that's actually something that you could exploit. Like if you personally think as a roster, as a team, Viper is booty, it's bad, it's not good, no one's gonna like it, no one's gonna play it, and China Win can actually exploit that on Bind and say, hey, we don't think Viper's very good. Let's catch this dub and let's take this to map 3.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a key thing, I suppose, when it comes to a tournament like this. And you mentioned like the agent changes, like we are going to be going into bind very shortly. And the one thing that I did notice when it comes to agent, it was such a big patch last week. What China Win ran would have been, it was no different to what we saw before. There was no Killjoy, there's no Sage, but that's not really too surprising. But you compare that to Mamba Mode, no Cypher, they had a Killjoy instead. They had the Reyna in there too. Like I was watching the EU teams play today, and they were running triple duelist at some point. Like they are running right with, we have a new patch, we have a new meta effectively forming. I do think that some of the teams in this tournament are playing this super safe. Whereas if we like had something like your Sentinels and TSM involved, I think they'd be pushing about out to more zany strategies, right? So I do understand why some of the teams are playing it safe because this is such a big tournament and just play your own game. But I can see Mamba Mode Gaming going, let's use this to our advantage and go in for it. And I think that can work on bind if they're not careful. Like you mentioned, you have the Viper in there too. They use that, and China Winner expected to play a normal game of Valorant. They're going to get caught out.
Yeah, and you touch on that triple duelist composition. Cloud9 did play it during Pop Flash. They had Mitch on the Jet, Tens on the Reyna, and then I think they had Relics on the Raze. So they did have the triple duelist as well in North America, but it was only, I think, Cloud9 that brought it to the forefront, if I recall correctly. But you're right. This is another great opportunity. This is a tournament without Tier 1 teams, a lot of Tier 2 teams, and if you can... I'm not going to say cheese your way through, but if you are going to play something that people are not prepared to handle or deal with, you only have, hypothetically speaking, 13 rounds or more to figure it out. You're kind of put in an escape room. You've got 1 hour to get out, and that's the similar instance here. You're on bind. You're playing against this cheese, and you've got 1 hour, 40 minutes, whatever, to figure out how in Tarnation are you going to get out of this match alive and take us to map 3.
And there's a particular agent that I would expect to be seen on this map. And I do think that's actually kind of interesting because I was literally going to say China Win have never played Breach. They're playing Breach. And I was going to say he's such an important agent on this map. Weedid's on the Viper. You've got this double duelist lineup. Super aggro. No Sentinels on this attack. So the age of having Cypher in all of your games is well and truly over. Both EU and NA have been showing that today. I can't wait to see like a meta breakdown and agent picks, which you could probably see on the spike.gg at this point. That's how I saw that China Win never played Breach. So DXN has to have a good game. Like, it's going to be awkward for him. We haven't seen this agent in official games at this point. But we need to see it happen.
I think it's also worth noting that Decop is a very good Phoenix player, and he's on the Raze. And I know Raze is super important for bind, but I almost wouldn't sacrifice Decop off of the Phoenix, because now that actually might be difficult to use and to work with. But we'll see how that pans out. Chase finding an early pick, now pushing forward on towards this B site. Pistol, so far so good for Mamba here. That's going to be another on the round, but I Love Mina bursts through them with the classic. Now it's down to one final player. It's Decop himself. Spike going down, Mamba winning the first pistol. To be honest, felt very comfortable, very controlled. I don't think they felt that they were losing that round or it was slipping away from them at any moment. I think it was China Win that were struggling to figure out how to react to that very quick execute from Mamba.
You sort of mentioned like Raze there. I think I understand the whole idea of like some players are really good on Phoenix, but running without a Raze is so dangerous on bind. Like, yeah, I'm a European, so I'm kind of like used to seeing Raze a lot more. That's generally one of the biggest agent fluctuations across the Atlantic is the use of Raze. But A short is such a core area that Raze is so good at defending. She's pushed up actually on A showers. They've stacked all their members onto the A site. Gamble isn't going to pay off as MMG are going to make their way onto B. And it's going to be a relatively straightforward plant coming in, but they don't have all the time in the world to be doing this.
They are prepared. Walls up. Spike's still not down, though. And, you know, I think they're preparing for the push from the connector. The rest of the players are holding down this B site. We did play that very well alongside Critical. They just held one player outside a connector, and we did held up in hookah. And the players that jumped through, they just mowed him down. But I think China Win actually got more than they bargained for. They end up finding critical. But now it's just down to Decop. And I don't think in this 1v4 he's going to be able to really walk away unscathed. He can at least try to make it expensive for the side of Mamba. But just like that, he's taken out of commission.
I think trying to win at this point, like, it's only 2 rounds in. I'm making it sound like, oh yeah, that's it, trying to win her out. It's certainly not the case, but based on what MMG are running, they have to have the game of their life to win this, I think, at this point. Because MMG, what they're running is so bizarre. I haven't seen anybody run this composition before. Ever. I think at this point, from watching since closed beta. Maybe the really early days, but Reina wasn't in the game in the before the beta, right? So I think China Win is going to have such a hard read on this. I know the analyst desk said, like, it's such an awkward one, I suppose, when you look at the fact that I think the analyst said that these guys have been scrimming. I don't really know if China Win is going to be prepared for this. I don't think many people would be at this point, but they got to try. Race utility is going to be used on A shot, kind of like I said before. It's so good at making sure that they can't take that for free. But so many people stacked in on B long showers. The breach utility is coming in just to sort of break this on through. Pancakes is put under a lot of pressure. He is up against the pistol, but we know that these anti-ecos from both sides can be super dangerous at least. So Pancakes is now trying to wrap around at least to a good point, but Mead has taken so much space in showers. So the 2 attackers now are going to be holding into lamps. This utility is going to scout them both out. Mina spots them, so they can just wait this out. The spike is in the center of the A site. The MMG need to break on through here. And China Win are just playing this patiently. They don't need to push out. They know where the spike is. They can watch most of these angles, but Asias makes a good breakthrough. The utility is used as he picks up another one and goes through the teleport, and this is something that China Win weren't necessarily expecting.
I like this though. Tripwires, of course, they'll have to kind of hop through them, but China Win's on the attack as well. They've tried to get here in time. They see that there's one player in the tuna can. That's going to be taken care of quite well by Critical, and Osias will swing around 3 rounds in a row here by Mamba. And it's that 3rd round that is so crucial for you to come away with the win on the gun round. Yes, it went down to the wire for mambamode, down to the 2v2, but they played that well. A great call to hop through the connector as well, to make their way over towards that B site. China Win tried to sprint over as fast as they could, but there's really only one place that they could have come from, and that's that doorway leading towards the site. So very unfortunate for China Win, likely now down to the pistol, and so they'll have to deal with the gun round at round number 5, but we've seen the anti-ecos pack a punch. We'll see if they do so in this round.
That paranoia is good, but Pancake's position is too predictable. And MMP, explosive attacks. Need I say more? It's pretty much been a run-of-the-mill so far, and China Win have struggled to deal with this. Even in the last round, as you saw, it was so awkward. Paint Shell's good, but I think it was from the attacking side, because you can see that Weeded's health is fine. Clean breakthrough into China Win, and I said that they have to have the game of their life. They most definitely need to at this point, because MMG have pulled. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like Yugi saw the top decked a card and basically made up his own rules, like the anime kind of has it. And China Win are like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And MMG are like, yeah, we're running Viper double duelist, deal with it. Slaps him across the face. That doesn't happen in Yu-Gi-Oh! But
No.
it'd be funny if it did.
There's no slapping across the face in Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless you have all 5 pieces of Exodia, then the actual character comes out of the cards and slaps you. Yeah, and then that slaps. Yeah, exactly. So, gun round here for China Win. And unfortunately, I have to say, a very important run for them to win. Because if they don't, then they're going to be back down to the pistol likely, or a little bit of a soft buy, and mambamode are going to start to run away with this match. Decop, fortunately, opens up the round with a glimmer of hope. A shot onto the opposing rays, and still trying to spray through. Finds a second one. This Omen smoke is just so deadly for some reason. And the showstopper finds the 3rd. It's the Hunter's Fury to eventually put Decop down to the grave. Now Critical experiencing how Uzi Vert felt long ago, that all his friends are dead, and he's been pushed to the edge by 4 members from China Win. Spikey's going to pick it up. Likely not going to get it down, as the rest of these members are in and around the A site. Pancakes with the operator that'll seal off the round, and China Win finally put one on the board.
Did force a few ultimates though. And the Hunter's Fury in the attack was awkward, I suppose. It wasn't really anything that Critical could do too much about. Like, the idea is there. We're seeing teams do this more of just Hunter's Fury through a contentious point of the map, like Lamp or Hookah, just to clear it out. If anybody's there, they're going to be tagged. Even if you don't kill them, you are going to force them off that angle. Unless they're just insane and they're going to try to double bluff you, but that really doesn't happen all that much. So it didn't quite work out in their favor. It didn't catch everybody that they were hoping for. But a nice showstopper that came in and just dunked on we did on this corner, right? So now mambamode Gaming are really setting the pace. They're going to do it with their own showstopper, breaking on through, but they don't spot exactly where the defender is. Throws it back on Deco. I think his team called it out. And now we see the Hunter Fury on defense. It's going to catch more as Pancakes is dancing through with the operator. Whilst the Hunter's Fury is going through him, it means that yet again, it's Critical all on his lonesome.
Shakespeare said many years ago, "Whomst mans is this?" Pancakes popping off huge with those quick scopes. Critical, the most that he can get this round is that ult orb. I mean, he might be able to get a pick. I'm obviously over-exaggerating, but wow, Pancakes. China Win have to give him a raise. Have to give him some, maybe a Travis Scott McDonald's meal. That would definitely make him feel a lot better after this series, because that was crispy. That was very, very well done. And now Critical, I mean, smart. Save the op. There's not much you can do in this situation, but wow. I think for Mamba, they either have to re-strategize their A site hits or go back to the drawing board on B, because B's been working. Let's be honest with ourselves here, Ryan. B has been working, and they've done a great job of keeping it under control. The problem for A is their push is a little one-sided. They don't have support from showers. Whereas what you'd normally see on Bind, if there's a Cypher, which Mamba don't have, plays towards that shower side, gathers information, and then the rest of the team act off of that, right? They push through A short. That Cypher player usually gets a pick or two from the on top of the defense. And then if the information is good from the Cypher, they might pull back and go towards the B side. But they don't have that. They don't have that player working towards the shower side, Ryan. And so as a result, Mamba are gambling, let's stack together and work together. And that's, in its own way, to some extent, is like a 50-50.
And I guess it's difficult because if you want to play like a lurker, who should it be? Because it seems that it's Critical for this side of MMG, pushing with the Eldron, but that utility is so good at executing onto a site. He's the best at executing onto a site because you have the recon bolt and shocked out support on certain angles. So the problem with this composition for MMG is there's no particular agent that can really go off and do their own thing. Reyna can, but you want those layers. Viper can, but you want those smokes. So you want the utility that they provide. So that's kind of why they're stacking together a bit too much. But it should mean that these splits should be stellar, because the way that these agents synergize with each other and the way that they break onto a site is different qualities. Should be incredible. Should be incredible.
So now it's this B-side hit that I've blown up to be a great attack for Mamba, and so far it's just been a trade of kills. Osia's going to make it the man advantage now for Mamba. DXN ready in a very cozy position with the rolling red carpet, but not going to roll it out for anyone quite yet. One member from China Win is dangerously low. Here's the red carpet. It's rolled out. Zek trying to reposition, but he's taken out. It's a trade, but cute Fat Boy is able to find 4. So close to the ace, down to the 1v1. 20 seconds remaining. Osias needs to get that spike down. Beautiful use of the paint shells there to deny space to push forward. And now down to the 1v1. Cute Fat Boy does have the camera. Can use it if he so chooses. Osias playing towards the cubby. Repositioning is everything. Timing puts him into a new position. And he unfortunately looked in the wrong direction, trying to clear out labs. Cute Fat Boy with the ace puts us 3-4. What a hold there from China Win.
And a bit of a misplay, I feel, from MMG. I like the way that China Nguyen played super passively. When it was just deciphering the breach on the B side, they slowed the tempo right down. They were like, let's pretend that we're not here. Let's not use any utility. Just wait 5 or 10 seconds. Because then MMG were like, oh, the site's clear. We have everything under control. The Rolling Thunder comes out, and then Cute Fat Boy just barrels onto the site as a Cypher and kills pretty much everyone. The mistake for MMG is the Cypher got the plant in, knew that the Cypher was over on elbow, and then just kind of thought, oh, I've thrown my paint shell there. He can't come from that direction. Tried to rotate around and was caught out completely. So they need to put a bit more pressure there, just try and take that engagement. You're a duelist after all. Amina has been one of the key players to keep China Nguyen in this. They were 4-0 down, and it's looking likely that they'll be able to tie this up as we go into round 8.
It's not to mention, Ryan, but China Nguyen, at every opportunity they can, are running double op. I mean, it's working on the left side. I Love Mina working it well on the B side, but it's on the opposite side that I'm looking at Decop with the op, or sorry, Pancakes with the op. To see how he can use it to great effect. And to be honest, we saw that with Lamps. He got 2 quick shots in previous rounds, and it was one of the more impressive plays of this series. And so now this double op play, the moment Mamba find an edge and take these double ops out of commission, they will have a lot more space to work with. But the key, Ryan, is they don't have many rounds left to do it. We're in round number 8. After this, there's going to be 4 rounds remaining. You don't have a lot of time to get these double ops out of commission. So for China Nguyen, a glimmer of hope, light at the end of the tunnel, to actually, if played successfully, bring us to 8-4 in favor of China Nguyen. But we'll see how they do, as now the attack is starting to come through from Mamba on this A side.
And the way that they've adapted to this zany competition that MMG are running is strong, and it's not like they're having to adapt their playstyle too much. I think they've just calmed down. And this paranoia is good, but Zek just picks that angle and sees him just beforehand. The XN imagine to kill Princess, the spike gets planted, and the Sias is caught out, and the defuse is going to come in. Yeah, China Nguyen looked a bit flustered with the comp that MMG were running and the way that they were playing, but something must have been said in these last 4 rounds, because they've relaxed a lot more, they've kept their composure, and they're playing smartly around their utility, playing retakes. And MMG, now that they're on this comp and it's not working, how are you able to pull this back?
You know, talking a little bit about the map win rate, you know, the side win rate, and find one of the very few maps where slightly favors the attack, but I think this is one of those maps where it's not really anything to scoff at. It can go back and forth round after round after round. Probably the closest maps in terms of side. What does this composition look like on the defender side? That is my big question. Because if the Viper can control and create one-ways, that's going to be the biggest problem for China Nguyen once we get to that second half. That's something that we're going to have to put on pause until we get there, because they are starting to hold down this B site. And so far, China Nguyen on the positive end of the trade, that's the showstopper that's sent in by Osias, but it's wasted. It's done. Viper Spit now going to be used here in combination, trying to secure the site. They want to get the spike down, and it's not down yet. Critical. Going to find one in rotation towards the connector side. That's going to be the Poison Cloud that's dropped as well. We did hiding in the pit, spike down, and now China Nguyen have a lot to work with. They need to get in there. They need to defuse the spike. And there's one big, giant jello box here on the site that they need to push through. We did in critical, already finding 2, peeking in and out of the pit. DXN finds one, looking in the wrong direction. That's the swing, that's 2, but we did. Staying on the top part of the jello, peeks out. Takes out the last and final player. A lot invested. 2 ultimates, Ryan, to secure the round.
Things back in MMG's favor. What I like is that he jumped on the top box, boosted himself up, and it was almost like a nice double peek that came out of MMG as they peeked through the Viper's pit. Good utility. Nice to see that the ultimate being used by the team instead of, you know, the Viper show, because the decay doesn't affect teammates anymore. Works up so well, and nice to see Viper having the impact. Unfortunately, we did is 4 and 5, which isn't stellar, but better than the Reina, I suppose, who's 4 and 7. Hasn't really had the clutch capacity that we've seen on Haven, at least. Cute Fat Boy, though, has been the opposite. He's been clinical on these defenses, and he's been a reliability factor when it comes to this guy. The way that this team is playing, the majority of the damage has been done.
Red carpet rolled out here for mambamode Gaming to either escape or walk it comfortably. Critical will start it on the comfortable side, taking out DXN. One member drops from heaven. Pancakes with the operator, gonna try to take out We Did. The shot hits just left of the shoulder. I Love Mina, last player standing. Saving Private Mina is the name of the game. And Critical, not sure what happened there. Yes!
No.
That's what I'm talking about from China Win. I Love Mina with the clutch.
Oh, that was so unfortunate. Zek threw out the paranoia and he hit his teammate. So both of them were in lamp, and I think it was Critical that was paranoid. Couldn't see the player that was also paranoid right in front of him. But luckily China Win reacted enough and Mina was able to pull off that double kill. That was a disaster from Zek. That paranoia, a bit awkwardly placed.
You know, you mentioned We Did not really having the most impactful game, but I think he's taken a lot more of a supportive role since his movement off of... Uh-oh. Gotta put that on pause. No, another showstopper that goes sour. Oh my goodness. But I wanted to mention that Chase. Such an impactful performance on Haven. 3 first bloods, having such an impact and pushing his team forward, entering onto sites, not having the best performance on MMG. And, you know, for this map, maybe it's just not a map that Reyna can feel comfortable on or has a lot of more space to work with, and it's easier from the defender side to control these choke points. Speaking of choke points, China Win are about to sneak past one. Oh, this is huge. Oh no, misses the shot, but still redeems himself. Pancakes with a headshot onto Chase, open things up, and now the defense trying to retreat back towards their site. Camera there from Q Fatboy, and sees that no one is coming through the market. Now ultimate comes through. Zach just trying to find information. Actually commits to the teleport, and now China Win.
Spike.
I mean, I don't really know what he's doing here. If he loses the spike like you called it, he's in a really tough spot, but he finds a pick. Now the 2v2. 2v3.
He's trying to put another smoke to make his way to the B site. That's around. China Win off the spike. It's comfortable. Like, that's just a bit of a misplay. I like the idea because he realized that China Win had pushed up towards like a shot. He could teleport in behind him and take that space, but he should not have had the spike on him. That's something that We Did should have had all of the utility to set them up to go to the B site and have the Omen lurking there. And it cost him the round. Now China Win taking the lead as we go into the last round of this half, and it has yet again, much like Haven, been the teams trading rounds off each other. And China Win have been dealing with what MMG have been throwing at them, which isn't conventional by any standards, but still easily read from this team.
You know, I definitely see a world, you know, 7-5, 6-6. It's definitely a relatively even half. The bigger question then becomes, once we swap over some of the different utility pieces of this composition from mambamode, how are they going to be able to defend? They've got 2 duelists, and they got a Viper. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they control the map and what they end up doing. Because this attacker side definitely felt a little lackluster. Decop going to find one, I believe, with, I don't even know what that icon is. Was that through a box, through a wall? Was that utility? I think it was the Boombot maybe that was able to find a pick. And so now Mamba just stuck in this choke point, start to push through. Osai's going to find one, while the rest of the team from China Win are going to use the Hunter Street to try to cover the push forward. That's 3 picks already alongside Mina taking out his own teammate. Puts us down to the 2v1. Critical going to find one player. DXN with the operator up from above. And the pings are starting to come out. They know exactly where he is. So he needs to play this carefully. Aftershock clears out Tetris. The only block that he's going to find is his own mental gap. So Sias, that takes him out with the shot. Showstopper comes through. 6-6. Ryan, this next half's going to be, once again, similar to Haven, very, very close.
And it's, I think, whoever can pull 3 rounds on the bounce at any point in this half is going to be the one pulling that advantage and looking to be the likely winner. We could easily go to a map 3 with how China Win have been playing this, but MMG, showing like they did on Haven, they've got some core plans, and to be fair, going into half-time on Haven, the score was only 7-5, and could have gone either way at that point. It was as we got into like round 15 through 20 that we started to see MMG pull a bit more of a lead and look like the better team. So now they're defending with this awkward composition. it's going to be a bit of a challenge for them. But if they've been practicing and scrimming with this comp, they should be set up, and we should see some really interesting aggressive plays.
Speaking of aggressive, Decop shows some of that slight aggression towards the shower side, using the paint shells to clear out whoever is lurking in and around that area who was critical. Sova player alongside We did holding onto this A site, and Mamba mode, very interesting setup. 3 towards this long side. I'm not sure what they are anticipating as China-Win work their way up. They all hop through portal, and there's no one there, and China-Win walk onto the site. Ryan, I'm speechless. I don't even know what that was.
I feel like it was sunk costs a bit from MMG. They pushed on A showers, they knew that somebody was there, they got pushed off that angle very aggressively, and then just thought that they put more utility on that point. I like where DXN is positioned. The issue is that he's going to run into more people, but he has baited away for Deco. It was holding back, but might not be expecting pancakes on this corner. Oh, Zek, sorry. Was, but just couldn't get those shots in. And the retake's going to be an awkward one for MMG, still possible. Critical's going to have to try and go for it, but DXN waiting on all of these off angles and China-Win getting the first round of this half.
I just think, like, if that's why they hopped through the portal, to take out one player, that was their goal. Like, did they gamble that there was more than one? That maybe there was 2?
Yeah.
That maybe there was 3? That is like, that is a very risky gamble that has, like, I'd argue less than a 10% success rate. Like maybe even less than 10, maybe even 5% success rate. Because I think Decop had already been gone long enough for that play to make sense. If they did it immediately, then I understand. But once again, they're doing something very similar. Action in B short, as they will actually find only one critical, while the rest of the SMGs are putting in work. Decop with those blast packs will chip down some of that damage, and now China-Win will just say, I do not want any part of this. And they'll make their way over towards this A site. So
Gonna run in the opposite direction. I think a lot of that damage was stemmed from China-Win from DXN on the breach. Like the fault line came in, and look at the line of people of MMG where they died. Wouldn't surprise me if that was the line that the fault line came in on, played up shot. The paranoia is good. This utility that lines up is so good because it allowed Decop to take some space. Yeah, it's against pistols, but even then, these are rounds that China-Win has some really solid utility that they can use. Now MMG will be able to buy a few guns, but they didn't really do too much damage to China-Win there, so the economy is going to be buffered on their side at least.
8-6. Pistol and SMG round accounted for. Now this is the gun round for Mamba mode gaming. We'll see what the setups look like. We did originally playing closer towards that A site. I'd love to see how that flops around. I think the Viper is the big question mark here, you know? Is it worth it? Missy Elliott would next say, let me work it. But I think in this instance, We did needs to show us that he can work it and that he can make this Viper work. Because if not, I mean, I wouldn't argue that it's the biggest problem for Mamba mode gaming's potential defeat here on Bind, but we'll just have to wait and see. China-Win looking towards this B site, preparing for a push. A lot of utility spent to already try to push in and clear at least Hookah. We'll see now as they start to funnel in.
Critical wanted to play patiently, but We did just has a straightforward peek and is able to kill Mina. Look at the cute fat boy traded him out. Critical, I would have preferred it if he just played a bit more patiently, made it feel that China-Win had control of that area, but now they're expecting the Silver to be on this angle. They're giving him a lot of space and respect. Gonna try and peek him, or at least trade at this point.
Nice.
But Zek just stopped spotting the ponytail of DXN at that point, as it's a bit of a ruckus and a bit of a trade of rounds, but Decop still able to do some damage. Chase, we saw him clutch a lot on Haven. Could he do the same here? No. Unfortunately not.
That is really bad here for the side of Mamba mode. You lose the pistol and the SMG, that I understand. But the gun round, you know, I just don't know what they could have done different to stop that push on the B site. They had a Viper and a Sova. You know, normally on Bind, you'll see the Sage playing towards the long side. The wall goes up, you know, slow orb down, stops the push completely. I think in this instance, for the side of a team like Mamba Mode, who are playing the Sova and playing the Viper towards this B site, that is something that ChinaWin can exploit. What are Mamba going to do to stop this push? They can't deny utility. They can use this Viper's bite the Snake bite to stop the pushes forward, but it's not up for long enough or does enough damage for it to be as impactful as it needs to be. So ChinaWin actually pull off. And now Osias is looking for a showstopper, at least in B short, finds nobody. Now ChinaWin are going to re-strategize towards this A site.
Surprised that they didn't double bluff it, and MMG have been banking on this a little bit too much when it comes to these plays. Chase though, suicide angle, that's why it's called that. Easy frag for Cute Fat Boy to check it as it goes in, and this should be another straightforward plant. I like the aggressive play for Decup to take the space. I love how the utility's just been thrown out by both these teams. The lineups are getting so good when it comes to where to place this kind of stuff. Decup forced off this angle.
Oh no, Mina! Runs out of the clip, takes out the classic, puts it to the side and to the dome of Mamba Mode Gaming. Now the 4v2. Yes, I know that it's the eco here for Mamba, but that was a very hilarious engagement in Lamps there. Osias, Sheriff in town, headshot with exactly that, but Cute Fat Boy will seal the deal with that last and final frag. 10-6. Ryan, I don't think there are many opportunities left for Mamba to show us that this composition is something that they are... I mean, I'd argue that they are proficient in it, but the effectiveness of this composition has yet to be seen, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Like, considering this is a team that isn't running Sentinels, I think it shows. Because you have these nice plays from MMG sort of stacking and using the teleport to catch people out by having the majority of players on an angle to challenge. But the issue is when you don't have a Cypher or even a Killjoy, is you don't know that they've gone to the other site until it's too late, really. Decup has made a lot of space and nobody's checked him. In fact, Critical isn't going to spot him at all. Zek pushes on through, and Decup gets his third. He's just running rings around MMG, who are losing their heads at this point. Osias has rotated all the way around Hookah, and this is a nice anchored position to hold on to. But it might be too little too late.
Chase with the op. I don't think we've seen too much of Chase with the op, so this is going to be a little bit of a new look. Finds the first shot. Unfortunately, Decup will take him out, and a potential ace here for the race player, who I think has played quite well this particular round. That instance, you know, walking through the smoke, barely sees Zek, turns around and gets the frag. Now there's just one player standing from Mamba Mode Gaming. It's Osias. Spike's ticking. And honestly, may just opt in either A for exits or B for the weapon. Opts in for both. So he's going to back away. Spike going to blow. And ChinaWin bring us to 11-6. 1 point away from that match point. And Mamba, I think their economy is a little worse for wear. I don't think they're going to be able to afford everything that they want. Considering it sounds like they had an operator in that previous round. Didn't even really get to use it that well. It's rough. We're near the end, Ryan, and I think ChinaWin are going to be able to close this one out.
Let's Mamba can pull something out. They haven't won a round on this defense so far. I think when you look at the comp, it's not really too surprising. Certainly was going to work well on attack, but I think at that point, ChinaWin just stemmed the flow, to be honest. The attack has not been anything standout. They've not been doing too much that's 5-head plays. It's just been solid executes and solid reads, I suppose, of what Mamba Mode Gaming are trying to do on this defense. But like I mentioned before, MMG are a team that like to play aggressively, push in certain areas of the map. Now they look neutered, declawed, so to speak, because they're played so far back and passively on both of these sites. They want to play retake, but at that point, ChinaWin has done so much damage to them already.
You know, I think that the desk highlighted how ChinaWin really has only been playing Haven this entire tournament, and really we're only in day 2 of the tournament, and that has obviously changed. But Bind for ChinaWin has been looking very, very crispy. We're seeing frag after frag, entry after entry. Like you said, the utility changed so well together. Spikes are going down, rounds are being won, and Mamba Mode's dream of a 2-0 is slipping away round after round, and this is going to be one like no other as well. Likely China Win taking us to match point. Mamba don't want any part of any potential opportunity to try to take the site. It's a 5v2. The only possible scenario is if both these duelists just pop off. And like you said, the claws have been declawed for Mamba. I think they're a little afraid, a little scared, a little worried about their ability, their power to take the fight to China Win. And as these rounds have just slipped away one after another, you know, I imagine a world now that will this level of confidence from Mamba carry over into the next map? Will they feel just as neutered, or will they be able to bounce back?
When you look at Haven, right? What was the key thing that we saw in the first half? A lot of trading between rounds, but a lot of close rounds. China Win had that no problem. Yeah, they're going up against a team with worse economy, sure, but at the end of the day, MMG had this kind of like do or die attitude on Haven. Maybe because they're on match point in this series that they've realized that the penny sort of dropped almost. And this Sova's trying to play super aggro, and Critical just gets caught out. The play did not work at all.
Oh,
and even the judge from We Did can't do too much. It's gonna. I think that's legitimate, really. At this point, China Win are just running MMG over now, and that was a big misplay from the defenders.
Down to the 3v1. It's just up to Osias, who's got 37 HP. And we're gonna break down those moves from Decop in just a little bit. We'll wait for this round to end. Aftershock to try to clear out Osias. That spike's ticking. It's gonna take a lot to clutch. That's gonna be one at least to start. Rocket here with the showstopper is gonna be another key factor. That's gonna be the shot that is sent.
Kills him.
While he's exploded, BXN will take him down as well. So now to break down, you know, Bach likes to call them turbo dunks. But to me, that from Decop felt like that Mario Party game where you're just trying to have the longest line of dominoes, and you're spamming your controller to try to have the longer line than all the other players in the lobby. And that's what it felt like he was trying to do. Decop really sending a message to Mamba Mode Gaming, 13-6. You know, we saw a very close Haven, Ryan. This was not even close, I think, from the side of Mamba Mode Gaming.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to win, you're going, this is more like it. We're sort of coming into it a little bit more. Decop had a great game on Raze, 7 first bloods. He was pretty much leading. Compare that to Chase, who was such a clutch master in their game on Haven. Really no impact at all. 7-16, bottom fragged in the server, and didn't really have a good ACS either. And I'm feeling pretty bad for Mamba Mode because they played it so well on Haven. Now they go to Ascent, which I think is a map that still both these teams will be able to pull some strategies on. But I respect Mamba Mode pushing the butt out when it came to certain compositions and the way that they played that. But they need to try and find some middle ground between what they just did and kind of what the safe comps are that China Win are running. Because, yeah, you can surprise them and get a few curveball rounds like in there slightly at the start of that game. But once China Win had like a read on it, that was it. Mamba Mod Gaming couldn't make anything happen. Most certainly when they're defending without a Sentinel, that also had pretty big impact. And we should have some stats to show you in regards to how that went, and also how the stats are looking on the map when it comes to Ascent going forward too, now that we're going to this final third map.
Yeah, we can talk about these statistics however we want, how we want to break down this win percentage from Ascent. It's relatively even. You see China Win 55.6% win rate on Ascent, and Mamba Mode Gaming, of course, on that 50% win rate. Shout out to the Spike GG for providing us with these wonderful statistics. I do have to point out, though, Ryan, they're going to rock the Viper again. And I don't necessarily think that that was the problem or the issue. It's just that it felt like it didn't have that much of an impact. Like, it didn't feel like they had developed a strat book around the Viper. The other thing to point out for the side of Mamba Mode Gaming is we highlighted on Haven what a performance Chase had. He brought Mamba mode gaming out of the dark ages, started painting, started the Renaissance, started playing
Renaissance.
music, Renaissance. He
That sounds
brought
like
them
some
out of
like
there.
knockoff ketchup. Oh,
um, and if Chase is gonna have a similar performance on Ascent, then this is speaking on the Renaissance analogy. This game is gonna be pasta a la GG for China win.
what a mix, I suppose. You're right. Like MMG, like they should like they looked so good on Haven that you wouldn't expect them to try and do something as overzealous as they did on Bind. I think more than anything, it was an opening for China win. So going on to Ascent, I think you want to be having we did back onto a duelist. I think that worked out quite well. Oh, he was on the silver, sorry. So yeah, just making sure that everybody's playing what they were playing before, because I think it was only Zek that was playing the agent that he was on beforehand. But also when you look at the stats for Ascent, you've got to bear in mind what these teams were playing against. Yeah, there's a better win rate for China win, but their losses were to the likes of TSM, right? And they won games against, I think it would be Spot Up, which is a respectable result. You go over to Mamba Mode Gaming, they lost. Their biggest loss was against Renegades, and their biggest win was against Moon Raccoons. Who are Moon Raccoons? I've never heard of them before. And that's not a disrespect, but it just goes to show that, yeah, you can look at the stats and they're relatively even, but at the end of the day, China Win have been playing up against the tier 1 teams more often than not, and Ascent is such a staple, certainly with those ex-Counter-Strike players that do love to play on this site and on this map.
Yeah, I think the Moon Raccoons are from the Renaissance. They're from the good times. From the good times. But I think it's we've seen Haven, we've seen Bind, we've seen some of the how some of these agents interact with one another, and how Mamba Mode Gaming like to play their compositional style of bringing some new ideas to the forefront. Unfortunately, those new ideas, just because they're new, doesn't mean they're good. Now, I would be the first to say that I love innovation. Okay, innovation's the best. Love Tesla. Wish I had some stock right before the split. Never mind about that. But I love innovation. I love when teams are bringing new and fresh ideas that work, that have been proven to work. And I feel like Mamba Mode Gaming, I totally respect them for continuously trying to bring this Viper pick to the forefront. And I'm going to imagine that they're going to keep trying until they see some resemblance of success. There's going to have to come a time where you hang up the hat and you come back to the drawing board. They put We Did off the jet. They changed around their composition, what players were playing what agents. And it's proven to work to some extent. But it looks like they still need a little more time in the workshop to find out what their identity looks like and how they want to play and how they want to execute. And when they do, they're going to be an even better team than they are right now. But I still think with this last and final map, Ascent, I'd love to know your prediction, but I think it's going to be a pretty clear-cut win from China Win.
It could be, very much so. The stats aren't bad for Mamba Mode, but it depends on what they play. I guess the biggest red flag to that comp that they ran is that they went up against China Win, who, like we highlighted beforehand, didn't play anything spectacular. They didn't adapt to the new meta, so to speak. They pretty much played what they would before, but swapped in a Breach. Which, might I add, actually, when it comes to the Breach, DXN did a super good job playing that role, and yeah, he wasn't out fragging and going crazy, but he was showing why a lot of the pros, even before these Breach changes came in, certainly the European side, were going,
yeah,
he's fine. He doesn't need buffs. Right, you're being ridiculous. And then they see the buffs and go, okay, he's a 100% must pick now. So now the fact that you see China Win go, okay, they're just changing up to probably one of the more potent agents in the game currently, and they overthrow that strategy. It's not a good look if teams are beating you on standard comps against your zany double duelist with a Viper composition. It's just something that I wouldn't put too much more time into working out, because still not enough there to really go, yeah, that's the direction that Valorant should be going. But that might just be a one-off that they tried to overrun China Wen, who, like we highlighted before, are the most default of default teams, I guess, when it comes to how they play.
Yeah, the other thing that ever since Killjoy's been added, and we've had one or two patches since the addition of the agent, we've seen some new compositions come to the forefront. Triple Scent, Triple Duelist, but none of these compositions really have of Viper. Viper has still been the bottom of the barrel in terms of agent selection. And while you can credit Mamba Mode Gaming for really trying to pioneer it in NA, yes, I know TenZ plays it. Yes, I know that there are plenty of other tier 1 teams with tier 1 players that are playing Viper, but they're playing it in scrims. They're not playing it on the main stage. They're not ready to show us what it's capable of. I mean, TenZ has brought it out like here and there, but overall, on the big picture, no one's playing Viper, right? And if they are, they're playing it behind closed doors in Narnia, where it's safe and sound, and you're in this land of mythical beasts, and you don't want anyone to know that this closet exists with this wonderful area. We did and company are trying to bring it to the forefront, are trying to make it work. And while I respect that, you know, I wonder what other compositions that are quote unquote zany that they could try. You know, I know We Did has the ability to play not only the Viper, not only the Sova, but some duelist agents. This would be a great opportunity to run triple duelist. You have the Omen player,
Yeah,
Zek is
I
solid.
actually agree. Yeah.
Put critical something on like a Sova or a Killjoy, give some type of intel agent, and then just have We Did on the Jet, put Osias on the Raze, and keep Chase on the Reyna, and you've got yourself one spicy composition. And that will definitely throw China Win for a loop, who I think has already caught the read on the Viper pick. They're comfy. They're cozy. They're going to be able to take this to however they want. But we're ready for game. We're just about to hop in.
Yeah.
We'll see what that composition looks like. I would have loved to see a triple duelist from Mamba Mode here.
The issue is the only other team that ran it was Team Liquid earlier today in their game against FPX, and they lost 2-0. So that composition really didn't work out well for them. That was on Split 2, which again is kind of the map where a Viper would work wonders. But I think you're right. Like when we say like zany compositions, really the only thing is the Viper. You know, that's the real question mark about it. And I think everybody would kind of agree that like, yeah, she's better, but she doesn't quite have impact in the right way, or at least the way that seems obvious. And really, We Did moving over from the Sova to the Viper made it so he had such a quiet game. We saw like a couple of cool bits of tech used, but he's trying it again. And it's pretty much the same composition that we saw before with Jet instead of the Raze. I like the fact that like they should do this again. The Narrator comes in and goes, what they did. So now this is, something to look at. It's something that they've done before on this map, so it's not like they're just sticking to Viper because they really want to make it work. This is tried and tested, but it's an issue against China Win, who are bulletproof when it comes to these kind of things. Straightforward comp for them, and they're going to be set up as standard.
I just want to highlight that the way that We Did was trying to get that one-way set up on the A site is a testament to how the Viper has been feeling. Try again. Not really working out, but what is working out is this early pistol for Mamba Mode Gaming. Chase and company doing a great job stopping this push towards this B site. A flawless round and a very different look to what we saw in Bind. It seems like Mamba have woken up and that Mamba Mode mentality is in full effect.
And the rounds that they got on their defense were the problem part, because the first half of Bind was great for them. The halftime score was 6-all. They were trading rounds against China Win, but it was when they were defending that China Win were able to just sort of slap them about a little bit, really. There was so many rounds in a row. I think they won like 5 rounds in a row before MMG could get their first of the second half. It wasn't a good look. So at least they've beaten that. So they should take the second round. But if there's anything that we saw in Haven that we didn't really see on Bind, is that a lot of these anti-eco kills were pretty scary, and we saw a lot of anti-eco rounds coming in favor. Paincake's just double-checking that there's nobody hiding around this corner, being a little cheeky monkey. But now he's just going to maybe keep around this area. He has pulled the defenders over to this position, as the rest of China Win are going to start pushing towards mid and take shot at the same time.
You know, to your earlier point, I've got some bad news. Mamba Mode didn't win a single round in that second half. So a little bit of a different story here, as Mamba are definitely coming alive. Osias taking out Mina. That's a blast pack to the dome, but We Did just takes it straight on, as Chase will start to stop that flank that comes in from behind. Mamba Mode are ready for this retake, spraying down 1. That's 2. 1 more player down in hell, and that's exactly what he's experiencing, as they're going to start to run and gun him down. But the silver lining here for China Win is they get the spike down, credits in their pocket. But look at these tea bags. Like, I see different flavors. I see orange pico. I see red
he
rose.
stopped refusing to go in for the tactical crouch.
Wow, what is going on here? They're like taking turns. This is very, very strange behavior from Mamba. But you know, listen, they're in the zone. They're feeling themselves. This is how you catch the victory.
Yeah, D-Cup got a bit of a D-Cup-ful right there.
Whoa!
Unfortunate, really.
Riot
MMG
Central.
2-0 up.
PG-13
R-rated
stream.
cast. Yeah.
PG-13. Make sure to have parental advisory beside you. Ryan's going off the handle, but
That's good off
All
the
right.
handle. Oh, wait until you see.
wait until you see what Mamba Mode have in store. Not only do they have tea bags, they've got teacups. We'll see how they play out this round. It is the gun round for China Win. One way. I'm glad that at least we can do the one way on both sides. You know, usually we'll see the Cypher one ways in those archways on the A site and on the B site, but having the ability to kind of turn it off and on is very, very handy. And considering Weedid's not even there, he can play presence. You know, he can sell that the Viper is close towards the B site. I mean, you obviously know that Viper can activate it at anywhere in the map, but it kind of feels like Viper would be there, right? So, no presence towards the A site, Ryan. We'll see where China Win end up going. Looks like they'll work their way up through the middle and split off to the site of their choosing.
Taking a lot of space, but I like this positioning of the Omen. I'm pretty sure they would check it. They should do. Zeki's just holding on. And China Win have realized that they are in an awkward predicament. But they have an opening there. DXN from Marky gets a nice pick onto Critical, which I think overpeaked it really. But Zek wasn't predicted to be there, but luckily Cute Fat Boy is going to come to the rescue. And Chase, with this judge, I would like to see them play a bit more passively, certainly as they're working into the site, but nice spot to get Mina. And they're going over to the A site. Chase has caught them. That's around. He's got the spike.
Oh, he can't plant it in time. Wow, what a play there from Mamba. Yes, it's potential that Pancakes even cleans up this round, but I like the way that that was played. A heavy focus towards the B site from Mamba. And really, it was Weedid constantly hovering around the defender spawn, ready at the drop of a hat to rush over towards the A site or help support the B site. And Osias was the only contact point, hovering around that catwalk while the rest of the team anticipated a B push setup. To be fair, it's quite standard, right? You work your way up through the middle. You know, you've got a player anchoring towards the fish market, or vice versa. You've got like 4 or 3 towards the fish market and 1 or 2 towards the food market. But great read from Mamba. We'll see how this eco here from China Win pans out. Will it be spicy? Will it be pretty much domination from Mamba? We're about to find out.
Cute Fat Boy trying it. Even if you got to kill him to Chase, you've got Pancakes there waiting too. Sorry, Zek waiting there. Always get those two mixed up. I never usually have that problem, but I think it's just Pancakes and Zek messing with my mind a little bit. Because they have been trading kills off each other so often. Like, they play in a very similar style to an extent, but MMG play much more passively than what we used to. And the Blade Storm's now going to be used on the eco side of China Win. And that's a really good paranoia because Zek doesn't spot that the race has hopped on through. So a lot of space has been taken by the attackers. DXN is able to get one at least, but the guns are just there on their side. That's the kind of play that I would have liked to have seen from China Win when they had guns, because if they did, that would have gone very differently.
Yeah, and to be fair, even though DXN finds one, it's one off the Blade Storm. It's almost, it would have been more disappointing if he didn't get one with the Blade Storm. So it's kind of like a gimme, a freebie. But the repercussions of that is that Mamba Mode Gaming are rolling in the dough. Scrooge McDuck levels of credit. Osias 8,100 as he's sitting pretty at the tippity top. And for Mamba Mode Gaming, that feels good. If they can hold on, hold fast, it's this 5th round that China Win need to win, and Mamba Mode Gaming can afford to lose. So we'll see as this early peek here from Decop, dry peeks into the A site, finds Critical, takes him down to about 50. And unfortunately, no Sage in the map or the meta to bring Critical back up to full. And we'll see how this 5-point spread from China Win develops as the round continues.
I like the fact that the Vipers just literally in spawn at this point. I don't think they're AFK. They're just trying to like adapt to what's going on, keeping an eye on CT to make sure that doesn't get pushed. But D-Cup's just making such a ruckus. He dry wide peeked out onto A, and MMG aren't really sure where this site is going to be hit. I think they're thinking that he's acting as bait, but if anything, he's recon. He's offering himself up to try and break through the site, and you only have the Jet there that's now paranoid. So they're going to make their way onto the A site. This is so passive from MMG. Just playing for the retake and trying to catch somebody out in between. But you don't often see this. A 5 versus 5 retake.
It's relatively normal for at least the defense to play retake towards the A site. It's the B site that is a little bit more difficult to retake, and we'll see how Mamba decides to start to develop. The Empress is popped, so they're looking to get active as they now start to push in. Decop with the showstopper. It's gonna take down 2 as they try to cross the bridge. That's at least 1 in the round for a sec, but at what cost? A 2v4 down to 1. It's Osias and China Win will get the spike down and get the round. A much needed one, putting us at 4-1.
Yeah, I've said this on previous casts. If a team goes 5-0 up, that's like a mortal danger sign. That's like lethal in something like Hearthstone. It's not a good look. But it was important that they won that second full buy round. Now they can turn things a little bit more in their favor. But the economy is still good for MMG. Maybe even for another round after this if it's a loss. And they don't really have many ultimates to work with, so I think this Hunter's Fury wants to get used, or see either team pick up a few kills or a few obs just to get some stuff on board. That's going to be the difference here, because right now it's how this utility gets used. Certainly with teams trading kills like this, suddenly it's a 3 versus 2 in favor of MMG.
I like how Mamba played this. They played it aggressive. They set up a lot of that utility. They had the Omen smoke just slightly covering the entrance from the attacker side towards the catwalk. They had the wall. They had a crossfire set up so that they had multiple angles covered. And then to top it all off, Osias with the op. But unfortunately, now they got to play retake into the 2 duelists who have a lot of utility still available. Not utility to control, but utility available to at least dissuade them from coming forward. And so now they've got to deal with this tripwire. I don't know if they're going to want to give away some of that information. No, they're not. They're just going to force their way through. This is going to be a little... They're going to be going in a little dry. At least they've got Critical's recon bolt. They might even try to updraft up above and see where they might be located. I don't think that really quite worked out. First shot from DXN goes good, but Weeded is ready with the crosshair placement to take out that one and final player. And it's Critical to join him. Mamba bring us up 5-1.
I think Mamba Mode Gaming played that relatively smartly, because maybe I think China Win were expecting only 1 player to be pushing in behind them, not the whole surviving team at that point. It was always going to be a disadvantageous position for them to be in, but they got the plant, got some time on the spike at least, which doesn't really add up to much, to be honest. But you get the point. Like, MMG played that super smart, kept together, just tried to give off the intel that there's only 1 pushing behind them, then they all just enveloped the only surviving members of China Win. 5-1, much more dominant. We're used to these teams trading around being much closer in regards to how they're playing. Now MMG styling on China Win at this point.
I like their desire to control the middle. It forces China Win into pushing into 2 locations. Fish Market or A main. Fish Market or A main. And Weeded has consistently been a relative anchor towards his A side, and you're seeing that here. 2 frags as he holds down the push. The rest of the team now have to recover the spike. Chase is going to be on that duty to at least defend it aggressively. He's going to be punished for doing so. Now the 4v3. Snake bite to do exactly that. Bite them at their toes. Smoke going to go down. They're going to be looking to try to at least recover this, but a lot of that utility is making it very hard to do so. Shock darts, recon arrows, snake bites, poison clouds. there's just so little that I think China Win can do other than rotate around, which mambamode are prepared for. They've got a player towards the catwalk side. We did, unfortunately, falls. Now this is now their opportunity to start to come back. Critical shot with the op. Cute fat boy. Spike has been retrieved, but it's Osias that'll take down that player. Still 30 seconds remaining, Ryan. This battle of the spike is going so sour for China Win.
Dominant from MMG. Been really impressed with them just across the tournament and even in previous results. China Win have also been consistent. That's the main thing, I suppose, when it comes to how they play, is just their elders when it comes to how new the scene is and how they stay together. Cute Fat Boy's just missing every single shot, though, in this scenario. But luckily, Zek is able to chase him down all the way around. And this is a dominant win. If you didn't know about these guys before, you certainly should do now.
6-1, Ryan, as mambamode pointed out, are feeling a little different. Definitely felt like maybe I was a little overcritical of their bind performance, but I mean, they didn't really show up on bind whatsoever. They tried. I'll give them that, they tried. But this is the performance that we expected to see of them on bind. Calm, cool, collected, controlled, most importantly, of all things. But now is the setup towards the B site. It's ready to go. It's the A site that is being hit fast by China Win. The Blaze Storm is out. It's the eco for them. They don't really have the most ideal weaponry. That's why the Blaze Storm is out. Hunter's Fury to try to deny the plant, but does not tag anyone. And now it's the 5v5 retake. It make it 5v4 as the blades go well. Or DXN takes out Osias. And now here they come from the rafters.
I don't think the Aldron would have caught pancakes there, but he's kind of thrown off his little roost that he had. Zek wanted to try and push through tree now, but wanted to also line up a good paranoia. But look at this attack. They all just beat them at this point. There's 3 people there. They just run over them with classics 1v1 in these fights. And it's allowed Weeded and the Silver to get onto the site. Hell of an eco from China Win. They just overran MMG at that point. Zerged them.
I almost feel like mambamode were not expecting such a fast hit. You know, you could play the eco rounds however you want, but Mamba, they had 3 members committed towards the B site. They had no one in the middle. Very different than what we're normally used to seeing them prepare. They worked their way up through the courtyard and deny the ability for the opposition to funnel in through the middle. And so China Win's attack on A was a gamble that just went correctly. If they had rushed and zerged B, there was 3 members waiting with a one-way to stop them. So I think it's just kind of a different look that possibly could have happened, but just a great call from China Win.
No more charges left.
MMG is stacking all on B, and even throughout the Viper's Pit. Interesting play. China Win are still considering going in that direction. But I like this because they're stacking more players over towards A and mid. And then if they want to go to B, they're allowing it, but they have to get through this Viper's Pit. The issue is, of course, if this Execute comes in, kills the Viper, then they've got the site for free near enough at that point, and used an ultimate in order to get it. But we did actually waste the showstopper. We can only get 1. That might be a bit of a problem for MMG.
The rest of MMG have arrived. They're a little late to the party, and Chase is going to feel that one in the morning. DXN takes him down with the operator. The rest of the team huddled around this B site, and so for mambamode Gaming, they've got to do their due diligence of hopping in and getting involved. Owl Drone, very confident there from Critical, as the Owl Drone's in the middle of nowhere. DXN providing that firepower, down to 1 final player. It's Osias. He's got the operator, but so does China Win on the side of DXN. 1 player behind the archways, and the Jet player on the site in the default plant spot. I think Osias can play this masterfully if he just waits for the exits. They're going to start to go up that way. They're starting to jump. They're starting to go. 1 shot's going to be good. Drops down. There's 1 more, but misses it. And that's going to be both Jet players almost that survive. DXN cannot run out fast enough. And while China win that round, mambamode makes sure to make it expensive.
And like I said, I like the idea, but It forced China to actually use a couple of ultimates at least when it came to stuff like the Showstopper, which didn't really get all that much info, but you're really hoping that can get a bit more with that Viper's Pit. He could have done it, just awkward with the shots of the spray with the Sova hopping down. Mina just gets in his face and gets the frag. Does a really good job trading for his teammate in that scenario. But I guess playing some of these strats, it's good practice to do against China because, like I highlighted before, it's very straight and narrow with their playstyle. Another explosive attack onto the A site. Smoke is good, and it's really isolated some players off of MMG. These last few rounds for China have been so much better than the game started, at least.
I love Nina with the 103. Early looks from mambamode. They were trying to work their way up through the courtyard, but as you called it, China have no business or no interest in make. Whoa! Whoa, Dika! Blast back and then the headshot to the floor. Very lucky shot there. Critical, as well as I love Nina. The Sovas in the lobby just popping off. Down to the 2v2 though. DXN almost makes that the 1v1, and that's going to be Sek. Unfortunately, DXN misses both shots, and Sek has to defuse, and DXN just escapes. We'll see if Sek does as well. He's going to get exploded by the spike. And China started to come alive. It's taking them a lot of rounds to get to this point, but they've finally figured out how to play this attacker side against mambamode's strict defense.
And it could be a similar story to what we saw on Bind at this point, where China struggle with the comp and the way that MMG are playing. Then after a few rounds, it just clicks. They get it, and they can start playing around it. And from that point, MMG's late game, certainly on Bind, was not good. It wasn't stellar at all. So there's a way that maybe China can come back into this. I can see this half finishing 6-0, to be honest, at this point. Certainly now with MMG having to eco, which means that there's some easy frags coming in for China. Some damage is still done, but the majority of it on the side of MMG, with the only Silver surviving.
Yeah, you don't see any more teabags coming out from mambamode gaming. You don't see any more of those starting to come through. The biggest question mark for me is once we get to that second half, this first one feels like it's over. There's one more round remaining. It's going to be a gun round. China either going to hit fast or play it slow. mambamode either going to play through the middle or spread out and play point defense. For that second half, China on the defensive side. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Viper setup looks like on the attack. It's in some cases easy to defend with the Viper. The one-ways, the walls to deny vision right down the middle. Then the Viper spit in some cases where you just leave weeded on one side and the rest of the team works through the middle and on the opposite side. So very interesting to see how the Viper opens up the second round. But Osias already opening up this one with a crucial kill onto DXN. The rest of the team stuck here. Decop unfortunately whiffs the showstopper, hits the fence, and still ends up losing. But Pancakes ulted back sight takes out Critical, and now Mamba are forced into the 4v3 retake.
That was some really good defending from MMG. The peak with the operator on A, the way that they held that off, but Pancakes just came in, was like nothing personal, kid. But this is where it matters. I think Chase, the Empress, it's the last chance to really use this ultimate in this half. Needs to get these frags. Might be caught out from where Mina is playing. People have just assumed that he isn't there. The whole, oh, if I smoke it, they can't exist. They spray a little bit. Might not be enough, really, with how they're rotating around, because Mina's rotating in, but he misses the shots. The defenders clear up, but MMG leading the line with Chase. That was such a good defending round. They played that so well. Wasn't quite 6-0 as I was maybe expecting. MMG go into halftime with the lead. Quite rightly, they played that superbly.
I really like how China initially played that and opened up onto the site. They had they were in a little bit of a disadvantageous position, right? They lost an early player. Dixon able to hold his own from that jump peak that occurred on towards that A site. And then it was down to the 4v5, but still, somehow, some way, they were able to break open onto the site. Pancakes gets behind enemy lines, takes out Critical. And then I think I Love Mina in that instance could have played that a little better. If I Love Mina had peeked out maybe 5 seconds earlier, that would have been the 3-piece on the round, They weren't really looking back towards the fish market. But That round is in the past. It's a new half and a new opportunity. China win on the defensive side and Mamba on the attack. And as of late, this map has felt a little more catered towards the attacker side. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that truly pans out for Mamba Mode Gaming here.
I mean, if we're looking like it's bind, we should see MMG pulling quite a few rounds as China Win have like their adjustment period, trying to work out exactly what MMG like to do and how they like to use these agents. It is a 4 versus 5, so if China Win can win this round and then win the round following, they've set themselves up quite nicely to play against this comp, but MMG really want to just bamboozle China Win at this point with the utility that they have, the Reyna, the Viper, of course. They have some nice set strategies and defaulting their way through mid, but pretty much all on lockdown for China Win, who look comfortable on this defense. And DXN getting another frag, knows that more's coming through short. Pancakes is expecting it, and he's ready with a paranoia.
They're going to be coming in from that tree room side, and now you're going to start to see the rest of the team try to support Pancakes, but he's still relatively alone, being surrounded by the opposition. He'll be able to hand it on his own as he's got 2 headshots back-to-back, reloads the clip. 1 more player remains. It's critical. DXN on the round, finding 3. China Win slowly starting to inch their way back up to a little bit of a catch-up here. 7-6, and now on the force-up round for the defense, especially after winning the pistol. I expect them to tie things up. Very possible. Highly possible. I like to make up a stat to say that it's like 80% possibility. But for the side of Mamba Mode Gaming, they'll have to kind of sit this one out, try their best, but it's the gun round that we're going to be looking at how they execute on in the round to follow.
Pancakes smoking short, and D-Cup's trying to use this one way to get a bit of damage in with the paint shell. Silver's low. The Aldrin is going to spot and force out a layer from Reyna, and it's important that they have those going into these executes, so forcing out a lot of utility from this defense already at MMG. They don't have guns, but at least they're playing this, I think, really well when it comes to getting some of this utility out of the hands of the defenders, meaning that there's very little going into the end game of this round. Paranoia is now used. All that MMG need to do is just be patient here, and Pancakes doesn't have much to use from here on out.
I mean, he still dissuaded them from coming in towards the A side, and so now as they start to funnel in towards B, at least China Win can be a little bit prepared that Pancakes did his job. DXN has the ghost, so it's pistol v pistol, manages to survive and escape, and it's the Marshall that is still going to be there. Unfortunately, doesn't even need it, as the rest of his team are just going to clean up the rest of the members. As we look at the crosshair settings real quick, make sure that our bright green, 022, whatever, settings are crispy clean, and now for Mamba Mode Gaming, it's back to the gun round. First gun round of the half. We'll see how they shape up. Ryan, I think almost based on how these two teams have been playing, Mamba Mode Gaming really coming back alive. China Win still fighting tooth and nail to stay in it. I have no idea how this half is going to unfold. I think both teams are capable of closing this out. It's just going to be very difficult to predict who is feeling themselves more on the day.
Yeah, we'll soon find out, I suppose. What Mamba Mode want to do is make sure that they stop losing some of these rounds early in the second half. Like you mentioned on Bind, they didn't win a round in the second half at all on that map. Granted, they were defending instead of attacking, but certainly when you're playing across different maps like this, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because China Win, when they pull that momentum and they get that confidence, looks very difficult to move them. And MMG don't have that many chances to shuffle things at the moment, so I feel like this round is incredibly important for them to win. Certainly without ults being online for either team.
And look how safe they're also playing it for Mamba Mode. I don't think they want to risk anything. This is the round that they are supposed to start to swing the pendulum of economy back into their favor. And so if they lose too much, even if China Win don't win the round, if there's only 1 player remaining, that is huge. And so far, it's off to a good start for Mamba Mode. They find the early pick and then back away. This is going to pull resources off of China Win side, thinking that it's the A execute. I mean, all the information that they have is that they're in the tree room, if at all. So now that the tripwire is broken in the middle, or sorry, I thought there was a tripwire that was broken in the middle. My apologies. this is going to be a beautiful B push for mambamode. They'll be able to get the execute, and for China Win, it's going to be a very difficult retake, considering they've got the weaker weaponry in this instance.
Chase using the dismiss, but he's going to get pushed. If he can get this frag, that'd be big. DXN goes down, and eventually is traded out by Deco. Defenders have made this a much closer 3 versus 2, but I feel that the damage that the Reina did there was super impactful, but Mina's now bringing this down even further. There isn't too much time on the clock, though, so these defenders really need to start getting a move on to upseat, I suppose, these two attackers that now anchored in onto the site. Osseous with the operators, at least able to get one, can get another. But China Win made that close.
Okay, Chase is nuts. That's all I need to say. Chase is nuts. Using the dismiss there with the little ground that he had like a door frame's worth of space to work with. And with dismiss, you obviously can see the Reina. It's not like the Impress where, you know, Reina can go invisible and blah, 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 blah. But Chase played that so well. And what he initially did, like, if Chase falls, if he doesn't even find that pick, I think China Win actually win that round. Chase bought so much more space than China Win initially let on, taking out 2 of those members and then almost taking out the 3rd, brought it down to kind of an even square footing. But without Chase, that actually would be something I'd be worried about for Mamba, because that was the weaponry that they had from round 2. It was a Marshall, it was a Bulldog, it was a Spectre. And considering Chase popped off, they still made it close. And that is, I think, also very important to note for the side of China Win, who now have the weaponry that they want. And Mamba have to be careful as they've already lost their own op player, Osias.
Yeah. And with a really nice default, I suppose it would be, or a strategy using the Eldron as bait, force the operator to take a shot, and then their operator can follow up and punish it as it's trying to move away or at least re-peek somebody that's going in. The execute's going to come in. The spike is going to be a little bit late. Pancakes is yet again going to be a real pain to move off the site. Cute Fat Boy's in behind him, but he hasn't spotted the Omen. The wall is up, and Zek is over here. It's something I think China Win were expected to be clear because Cute Fat Boy was on the scaffolding, but the smoke actually made it much easier for Zek to punish that.
Oh no! DXN! Weedon gets the best of him, sends him home with some fresh brewed tea. Wow, that's so unfortunate for DXN there. He had the Blade Storm. He had like 50 years to get his crosshair in the right place. He had so much time, and Blaze just could not connect. I don't even think he hit one onto Weedon, and Weedon, of course, swapping off of the operator there, switching to the classic, and getting the job done. Mamba now leading by 2. Have since bounced back from these early 2 losses in the round, and for China Win, the economy's back down to a very difficult spot. And so for Mamba, an opportunity to take us to double digits. And Ryan, once we're at 10, it's one after another, one foot in front of the other, and Mamba could really close this best of 3.
Oh, it's more than a likely possibility at this point now. It's more of a question if MMG dedicates some ultimates. They know that China Win are running pistols because of the fact that they killed the Eldron over on A. So they really want to save the stuff that they have available for future rounds. They want to take this as cleanly as possible, but if there's anything that we've seen from both these teams, they take some really dirty anti-ecos, and China Win would be no exception in this result, I suppose. Mina's actually going to use the recon bot to scout people out. He's sat in the decay, so he's going to be chopped down a little bit, but Crickle's just keeping an eye on it at least. The Pancakes with the jumping classic headshot. Can't do too much though, as Chase gets a 2K. And MMG get that round, take a couple of kills, a couple of deaths in their roster. And they have 4 ultimates online. They need to get this round, and then it's clean sailing going into match point, I think, at this point.
I understand that mambamode Gaming are in the driver's seat right now, and they've got a heavy brick on the gas pedal. And while I do agree with Veli that Decop is a phenomenal Phoenix player, I think my new favorite player is Pancakes, who on Bind and now on Ascent just plays a very fun style. I like seeing the mechanical plays that he brings forward. That jumping classic while the other player was also in the air. Very, very fun to watch. Now the 4v4. Hunter's Fury is going to find one early from Critical. While on the opposite side, DXN will take out Chase. And I think that's important to note because Chase, usually that big impact player late in the round when Mamba mode need him most. And now it's up to the rest of Mamba to figure out how they're going to attack without their beloved duelist. And how they can get the job done. Viper Spit available, Blade Storm from the shadows, a lot available. We'll see what they end up going with here, Ryan.
We just try to put some pressure in onto short. Nobody's there, and that's a lot of utility sort of just thrown in. Really seating into the heads of China Win now. Playing very paranoid, watching angles, and a lot of space being given up for the attackers, but not really doing too much with it. In this 4 versus 4, it's a case of just hold on to your hats when it comes to holding off this defense. Certainly Decop that's now going to be peeked into from this Silver. I think the recon bot's going to catch them first, but the main important thing is Decop's 12 health. So it can be picked off, does a little bit of damage in, and even kills the Silver. It's a big loss for MMG.
Oh, Mina has to escape. Does so. There's not much time left. They need to get the spike down, and Weeded is not really in the best position. 9 seconds remaining. He's going to have to drop down, and unfortunately, they've all got eyes on him. Oh, that's good from Weeded, but at this point, he's just looking for exits. Now he's rushing over. Maybe to get that up. Don't think so. It's going to be too risky. Oh, he'll end up getting it. But good round there from China Win. They just held on. They didn't let Mamba mode onto the site. And at the point that they wanted to execute for Mamba, it was too late. It's too late. There was not much left that I think that they could have done. And for China Win, they hold on and stop this advancement, this series of rounds that Mamba have chained together. They put it to a halt.
Impactful. China Win winning that was a real problem for MMG, I suppose. There's not too much available. I want to see how Weeded uses his Viper's Pit on attack. It's just, I want to see what kind of strategies in there. They've been pretty pivotal both on attack and defense, but there's still a lot of ways it can be utilized, right? And that's what I'm hoping to see at least. A lot of mid-pressure yet again. The camera is set up for the Cypher, so he'll be able to at least spot how many will be there. But Chase has heard it. He's trying to look and destroy it. And they even dedicate the Owl drone, so that's a lot of intel forced away of mid. So if you're MMG, you push the outside. You push B main, kind of like Asice is doing right now. And some pressure on A would have been nice. Asice is able to get DXN, trade it out. And yet again, China Win playing paranoid, but it worked so well for them in the last round. But how will it fare now?
Oh, Q Fat Boy, you're in such a tough position. I don't think he realizes that they're coming and working their way up through the middle. I mean, he's at least looking. Yeah, it's going to cost him. He still manages to get one, and that is super important. Look at the ultimate as well from Pancakes. He at least hopped over, gathered some information. I don't really know why he ulted to the B site, but Decop going to find one from behind. It's the Bulldog. You know, not everyone this round was able to bring a lot of great weaponry from the side of China Win. Pancakes pushes forward, loses the duel to Chase, who then heals back up to full, and now the 2v2. Decop has got to let this Bulldog off its leash. Unfortunately, it's going to go back to the kennel. Chase with 3 on the round. Door is closing, Spike is planting, and I Love Mina eats to make this work.
Recon Bolt doesn't really find anything. Shot Ball's just going to force Mina away. He is full health, full armor. But this is certainly doable. The issue is the attackers are pretty full health too. Gonna hop on down. It makes a noise though, so he's gonna hop on up. So actually, that might be a good play. Because they're expecting him to be down already. The issue is he had no other avenue in. He's just holding his own. Take a big gulp of that, Jet, says Reyna. And MMG pull around.
2 gallons of tea right down. Oh, Ryan, you know, to be fair, going into this matchup, I think with a lot of tier 2 teams, in some cases it can be difficult to predict who's going to come out victorious, because in a lot of instances they've had glimmers of hope against tier 1 teams and convincing performances against other tier 2 teams. And I think it would have been a safe bet for this matchup to go all 3 rounds. But to anticipate Mamba mode gaming, I would argue that China Win are the favorites like 60-40.
Yeah,
or
agreed.
55-45. And so for Mamba to win in this fashion on this map, it's a very beautiful sight to see. As now we'll see Peacock trying to get involved as he's bulldozed right on over. The lawnmowers in full effect, chipping away the opposition. 2 down now, 3 remain for China Win. And the weapons, they're not going to do a whole lot.
MMG were just foaming at the mouth to get on that side. It's like, they're just going aggressively, like, kill everything, There's just Mina left with the Sheriff. And it's a bit of a misplay, really. They used the showstopper and weren't expecting that many people. And a near enough flawless round for MMG going on to match point. You were right. I think it's fair to say that China Win were in pole position to win this one. And that's no disrespect to MMG, who I've only learned about recently, if I'm being honest, but have done quite a lot. I said that they like came into fruition earlier this week, but they have been playing together since July. But to my testament, July does feel like it was just last week, to be fair, because of the lockdown that's staying in all the time. So, granted, yeah, this team has been around a lot more often, played in a couple of the Team Liquid Valorant Academy stuff, which won a few of those too. But I think it's been this week that I've noticed in the Nerd Street Gamer tournament, they did the arena, they're a team that I've seen a lot of like NA analysts point to and go, keep an eye on these guys. And now you can definitely understand why. This would be a huge win to turn this around in their favor.
Not to mention, but they also have an academy team, so you actually, in some cases, never know who you're going to get. And I had the pleasure of casting the academy team yesterday while the main roster was playing in Pulse, and they're still just as good. The other roster from Mamo Gaming are also very crispy clean, and it can get the job done if need be. So early looks, Critical gonna find one. This could be the game-winning round. Chase with the Empress pushing forward. A lot of Cypher one-ways, but they need to get on the site and get that spike planted. Q-Fat Boy with one, but can't trade away onto the second. One player backside. It's I Love Mina. The operator shot won't connect. He's gonna find 2. Now down to the 1v2. Dixon, he's gonna get spotted out by this recon bolt and now has to deal with the knowledge of the opposition knowing exactly where he is. Gonna be another shock dart that comes through. Blade Storm as well for the side of Osias, who's ready to take this jet head on. Smoke subsides. Ooh. Dixon, all he needs to do, those kitchen knives, they go left, they go right. One shot's gonna connect from DXN down to 1. The headshot's good, and China Win. They stay alive for another round.
Taking some time to stretch the legs and the glutes there a little bit from DXN. That was just, as soon as he like hopped over to the little stairs, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, he's going to be able to maybe clutch this out. Certainly, when you have the jet on the attack, you've got Asias missing those blade storms, just whizzing past his head, giving up the position of the jet. He goes for a shot, moves over to kill the Sova that's in B main, goes back. An incredible play for DXN. The issue is he needs to do that basically 4 more times at this point.
Let's go.
Oh, 3 rounds. That's all China Win need to take us to overtime. Mamba Mode, as we saw in that previous round, I'm not going to lie, desperate to close things out. They rushed in, they fought the fires that they needed to fight, and we're hoping to come out victorious. And so unfortunately, that's not how things are going to pan out. They're going to have to fight another day. But fortunately for China Win, if they are able to close out another round, I think Mamba Mode's economy is not in the greatest place. And so, I mean, they might be able to buy in the round to follow, but there's going to be a round, it's either the next one or the one after, where they will not have the ability to buy anything. And that is kind of the silver lining here for China Win. So if they can just hold on, hold down the 4, they'll be in a good position. But now here comes the execute. Hunter's Fury looking to tag some of the members, and I Love Mina gonna find one. It's just Hunter's Fury after Hunter's Fury, but really, it's Osias that has found 2 in the round. And as the dust settles, the spike is also going to go down as well. Viper's Pit to add insult to injury. And all China Win can do is watch as the Jello fills up their beloved A site. Now down to the 3v4. Those members are coming in from above. That's 1 and the neural theft to make things even worse for the opposite side. But it's this 3v3. They're going to now start to hop in. They're hopping in 1 at a time. That's going to be I Love Mina with 3 on the round. Weeded deep into the paint. Down to 1 final player. It's DXN, but he cannot make it work. Mamba Mode Gaming move on to the winners semifinal.
Commiserations to China Win that played that so close all the way to the end. They are still in the tournament. They go down to the losers bracket. We'll have more info on who they'll be playing very shortly. But there's a really subtle play there that I really liked. When the Neural Theft came in on the defense, we did hid behind a big metal box, right? The reason why that's such a key play is it's easy for him to just, if he gets scouted out, they're going to break it down, they're going to get wall banged. So he hid behind something that didn't allow him to get picked off because he knew that he needed to survive to have that Viper's Pit. And even then, right at the end, it was only went down to a 2 versus 1. It was very scrappy, but that was pretty much the game as a whole. Both these teams playing it super closely. And what a hell of a best of 3 to start us off today.
To be fair, like I want to highlight that felt like a grand finals. You know, if this was any other tournament, you could argue that you could see those two teams in the grand finals and you could have such a similar performance. You know, Bind felt super sloppy from Mamba and they couldn't find anything to work out. Then they just bounced back and came out swinging. Man, the only thing that I'm now waiting for is for the analysts to break down that map. We're going to throw it to Van Silly and company. Take it away, folks.
Thanks, Timo, and thank you, Ryan. You have to wait that much longer. We're here to break it down, and it's a great way to start the day here on the A stream for the Pulse series. And we start things off here with trying to digest as much as we can with the amount of time that we have, boys. So, a banger to start things off. Let's start off at least with Haven. I want to bring this up. I know it's been a long time ago because this was like 2 hours ago when we started this matchup, but let me try to add a little bit of context. So I'm looking at the site retakes. We were talking about retakes before while we were watching this matchup. We're talking about how mambamode gaming, from Veli's point of view, was actually easier to retake on their end. And then for China Win, it seems as though it was harder retakes. For your personal opinion here, Lex, because they were both not, and at the same time, they were both not holding breach. So first off, starting with Veli, why was it for MMG it was easier for them to retake with no breach, and for Lex, how is it harder for them with no breach?
Well, I'll say this: like, I think it's a different comparison altogether. Sorry, Veli, to cut you off, but I don't think I don't think we're hitting the nail on the head with the questions, though. Like, I think the difference between the way that mambamode gaming was playing their defense in contrasting, it just more. It seemed like they were staying on the bomb site. So if you're executing onto the bomb site, and of course we're talking about retaking with breach is something we've seen extremely successful for a few other teams on Haven specifically so far in this tournament. That's why I think we're bringing it up. But I feel like there was a lot of times where mambamode gaming was finding the kills on the bomb site with their entries. They were basically putting themselves in a 4-on-4, a 3-on-3 situation in most scenarios. And if you allow the round, at least I'm talking about a bomb site on Haven specifically, a lot of teams will opt to kind of give up a lot of ground there and just try and find a free kill on the entry. But I feel like that wasn't happening at all. In fact, mambamode was getting out of the bomb site, and it wasn't always a completely free kill or a clean entry, but the post-plant situations were almost always favoring the attack, right? So if mambamode's in those situations, the breach is almost negligible in terms of the difference he'd be making anyway. It just seemed like they were doing a really good job at catching them off guard, exploding out of the bomb sites, which, I mean, we were talking about that a little bit, just their ability, mambamode, to just kind of at the drop of a hat be like, all right, we're executing, and then suddenly the flashes are coming in, rain is through a smoke, and they're in your face.
Yeah, I was saying in the Discord chat, Van Silly, I said, you know, the moment they set their mind on a execute that they want to do, they already know the plan. They know exactly what they're going to do step by step. And they're going to do it right then and there without even second guessing it, man. I love the plays that they were making. But the thing was, it was just the aggression. There was no second guessing. And whenever they caused a misdirection and rotated to another site, they knew what numbers were there. And they didn't give the opposition time to catch up with them. So they always had a gun up against the person that was going against. But, I mean, ultimately, MMG, man, they were sick. And you know what I'm really happy about, Van Silly? We saw Viper, man.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Actually, we could continue on and talk about that Viper, actually, because we saw Viper on 2 maps, right? We saw her on Bind, and we saw her on Ascent. And for me personally, it's 2 separate things, night and day. On Bind, it seems as though she wasn't that useful, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but my the way that I saw it was that when we did was putting up a toxic screen that always went across towards that hookah or towards that B site that covers up so you could push into elbow, kind of like they did on pistol, or another wall that sets up towards the A site. It was very one-dimensional, right? Where as soon as the wall came up, Yes, they got a few rounds to start things off, and they kicked off very well. But it seems as though China Win was able to adapt to that quickly because whenever that wall came up, they're like, oh, well, most of the times the execute's going to happen in that sense. And they just were able to rotate fast and stack on that. But maybe you guys saw something differently there to start things off with Bind. But definitely that on the attacker side and even on defender side, her kit wasn't really that utilized. Starting with you here, Billy.
No, so on the last map of Sin, I thought we saw great plays instead of by Viper all around, right? The first time we saw Viper, though, is pretty lackluster. And the way they utilize her is essentially to block off any type of, side of vision on any of the lanes out there. And if that's the case, you might as well bring Brimstone because his OT would have helped out way more than Viper did. So, I mean, we did. I don't know what they were trying to do the first time around with Viper, but you know what, though? Like I said before, I respect it. He obviously practiced with her. I just don't think that was the right call in a game that you really needed to win. But you never know unless you try it in a high-stakes tournament, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was their map pick, right? Bind was the map that they lost, but it was their map pick. The casters talked about that a little bit, and I think it was, I'm not sure who actually made the comment, but just I don't necessarily believe that, it's always whoever picks the map is destined or is, guaranteed to win that, or there's an expectation that they even will, especially. Well, I think it's more that like that's a norm in Counter-Strike, right? In Counter-Strike, like if you're very comfy on a map, you pick your best map, and it's almost like, okay, they'll probably win that. But here, like, especially if you have plans going into the round with the Viper tech, which there were several people in chat that were getting me excited for it, and I was looking forward to it. And I've already been a Viper nerd, okay? I've already gone through all the maps and really theory crafted a lot of this and fleshed it out. Yes.
Okay.
And so like I get really excited seeing Viper just by virtue of the fact I'm like, there's so many options here. Like, what are they going to come up with? But contrasting Ascent and Haven, where I think, well, not necessarily Haven, but on Ascent, like I think he uses the Viper incredibly. But the way that they were approaching the Bind defense, and I mentioned this to you both, was that I think of her strengths on Bind specifically is area denial. So like, think about retakes on a bomb site. Over at the A bomb site, you have lamps and you have showers, which are incredibly like vital to a defense. Holding one or the other is important, and Viper's great at that, both with their smoke and her acid. And I think, generally speaking, their idea was sound in like, okay, we're going to play B site retake with our Viper. And so they put the smoke every round, like right there at the front of the tuna can, as you call it, Van Silly, and expected like, okay, they're going to respect that we're going to have the Viper over here. We're going to deny them vision. We're just going to stay alive and make sure that they don't want to come over here and use the ult whenever we need it, which is, it's not illogical. But what they failed to account for is the fact that if Weedid is getting picked on that B bomb site ever, if he's taking any kind of contact and he dies, his utility is useless at that point. All that utility drops right away. The plants are open. And so I think like in terms of their application of Viper on Ascent, it's fantastic. But on Bind, it was just a little bit like it wasn't in sync. And I wonder whether they maybe drew some things up yesterday preparing for Bind against that team, because their attack, I mean, you talked about this a little bit, Vansili, but I thought their attack was phenomenal with her. Splitting the A bomb set a lot. They got 6 rounds on their attack Bind and got like 0 on defense. Like, it's one of those things where your plan maybe just didn't work, right? But I do love that they had the gumption, I guess you could say, to pick Viper in the first place, and super exciting to see other agents.
I learned a lot on this. There was one play in particular that was pretty amazing going to B, right? The fact that they had the one way towards CT, I forgot if he put down acid or anything else. By the time I Love Mina tried to peek through that cloud, Mina was one shot already. And we're talking about I Love Mina that had armor at the beginning of the round, had full health and everything else, and was just an easy 2-tap for the kill. Stuff like that is just so much better than having, an Omen smoke, a Jet smoke, whatever you might have there in that sense. So, I mean, it helps you with fights and it assists you. But in regards to the first map, you're better off bringing a Cypher or somebody else. Like Lex said, man, the moment Viper dies, everything goes down. But Cypher has those counter abilities that are going to, excuse me, not counter, but, subtle abilities that are going to be active even while he's dead. I'll take that over Viper there.
And even to take a step back, too, when you're looking back at Bind, right? Where we're looking at, what, a 5-5 first half. And I think that TSN turning point, as I like to call it back in the day, was, I think it came down to a teammate flash. You saw Zek playing as the Omen. He threw a paranoia into the lamps that was gonna blind the. I forgot who was trying to clutch, but he was inside lamps. But it also blinded Critical playing Azasova. So because of that, he actually won a 3 versus 1, which actually put We Did and company of Mamba Mode Gaming on a force buy where they only had what I think like 2 Spectres and Phantoms on the second round, and then on the 12th round they had 3 Spectres on lower buys with guns. Thankfully, though, off the back of the Spectres, they still won the round. But it was definitely a round, 2 rounds that it could have had that could have came in
That was
favor because
Mina.
the economy. Yeah, exactly, Mina. So the economy would have been shot at that point for Mama, not Mama Mo Gaming, but why did I forget just offhand?
It's fine.
Who the
There
hell
was a
are they
lot of
playing?
info that was coming out, man.
all good.
Trying to win.
Right.
There you go. Trying to win. So if they lost that round, the economy would have been broken. Holy crap, there's so much going on in my head. But then after that second half, they just ran away with that half, right, for China Win. We talked about DXN playing as that Breach. And we talked about Breach in general on that map. When he's not able to get any frags, but the utility is actually really good, they use that to their advantage as well to be able to take that Doodle's retakes as well on the defender side too for China Win. So that was actually a great one. Now to talk about Ascent really quickly, you talked about the Viper doing it very well. I also want to add on to that too. I think the way that we did through that toxic screen towards the A side, it does a lot of things. First off, you have control of the orb, because if that wall comes up early and you want to take the ultimate orb, you can right away, because it pretty much covers anything from the A side. They have to go for a lucky spam through the smoke to try to get a kill, but you could have 2-3 guys just to spray back in return to get that kill. The second one is that it covers up the door so that if you want to try to push in towards A main, there's no support from the tree side. It also screens up towards the heaven, where if there's an opera or something like somebody playing there, well, he's going to have to like move a little bit more out in the open, where it's going to be an easier kill. But what I like what they did was that they fell back towards the catwalk side to take advantage of tree. So fighting garden side, now you have no support from the A side, so it's like a 2 or a 3 versus 1 that gives a good advantage there for Mamba Mode Gaming to take that site. But overall, though, I think China Win still did a good job on their attacker side too, because it took advantage of, again, like a very passive play from Mamba Mode Gaming on the defender side, because the middle was kind of open, right? We saw 2 players play towards the back of the spawn side, rotating across, so they're keeping them on their toes a lot in this on this third map.
Yeah, I
Well,
see
I
we
vented
did
a
in
lot
the
there.
chat, by the way. We did is talking about he's begging us to say Viper sucks, but you know what though, I'm not gonna say that. But
She's just
but
annoying,
it's
dude.
all-
My heart went out to
she's
We Did.
very
Like, it was
annoying.
round 1 of Ascent, man, and he's like trying to put the smoke up on the one way for like 30 seconds, and the observer's just watching him miss. I'm just like, that's why I don't play Viper. Like, it's just too much of a hassle, man. Like, I don't want to deal with it.
No, that's it. No, it was
I'd say
it
that
was a
like
good one.
another
For sure.
surprise besides the Viper play itself was like, I mean, to me, somebody that on Mamba Mode that really stepped up, I think throughout the entire series, was Chase on the Reyna.
Oh my god!
Like we're seeing like several of these teams have extremely successful Reyna use. We saw like Jammies lighting it up yesterday, Thief, and I want to say like who from Shot Up? Man, I don't remember.
I wouldn't even
The
shout
point
out
being is
Sai is too, Lex, man.
I'm actually looking it up right now.
It seems like everybody on this roster had a step up moment, and they all came and delivered. Like Asias to me was the initiator, man. You know, especially as a Jet. It wasn't just opping though; it was just running in and doing everything else. Just the big plays, the clutches, the multi kills. You love to see it, but the playmaking ability aside from Mamba Mode Gaming, still hats off to everyone at China Win. They're going to the losers bracket. For those of you that are just tuning in, yeah, I know this is Van Silly's job, but it's best of 3s, you know, double elimination. I'm China Win. I want to see more. Pancakes stepped up. Pancakes.
Yeah, Pancakes was fragging
I
out.
love Pancakes as
DXN.
Omen. Yes, DXN is great. One thing that really shocked me though, Van Silly, decop on Rays. You know, I can't be mad at it. You have a lot of flashes. You have Omen in play. You have Breach there in that composition. So to see him on Rays and having that passive aggression, especially with the bots going in, trying to frag out, I don't think it was as effective as when he's on Phoenix, but still plays were made. I would love to see how that would be if they can progress with those strategies with that composition even more.
Yeah,
He
it
even
really
had
depends
a
on what
few-
map it is too, right? So
Yeah, he even had a few ult kills that were like extremely impactful. But man, I've been I don't want to say disappointed, but certainly underwhelmed by Ray's impact in matches. Like
Say
not just this
disappointed,
tournament,
man.
but even back at like when I was doing Pop Flash last weekend, I was like, wow, Ray's is having a minimal impact since her nerf. And I wonder whether or not more and more teams, like not just throughout this week, but in weeks in the future, is whether we're going to see more Jet and more Reyna just like cascading in that direction away from Phoenix and Raze. But certainly Raze seems to be almost underperforming as a duelist, and I don't even know if you can consider her that way anymore.
Almost always now. I
Well,
can't think of the
that's my
last time I
question for
saw
you
Rays
guys.
go positive.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
not only that, but the nerf is basically talking about her how her showstopper is a little bit takes a little bit longer to come out, and also the satchel charges or her blast pack does a little bit less damage. So, do you think that she's not having that much of an impact because the showstopper takes too long to come out, or is it more for the blast packs that have been nerfed for them
The
to take map control?
showstopper, for sure. I think there was I was counting like by hand. I think last weekend, and I haven't yet this tournament, but just like my own curiosity was like, how often are we seeing races get kills? And it's not rare, but it's certainly like comparatively to before, it was almost like, okay, he's got his ult, he's gonna go find a kill somewhere, he's gonna satchel in and frag out. But so many times you just see people trying to pull out the rocket mid satchel move, and it's just like they're bouncing around the map looking slick, but it's just so slow and they die. And I just think like in terms of how you synergize your abilities from agent to agent in a team composition, we've mentioned the limited, I mean, Ray's an agent who's so good on a map like Bind, but I wonder in my mind, like if you're going to run a Viper with any kind of duelist, like Reyna thrives and Phoenix thrive. Like both Raze and Jet kind of suffer from having limited line of sight. It's the flashes out of those that make that powerful. So I wonder whether or not, like, you know, a couple of these different kinds of agent compositions we've seen, especially out of Mamba Mode Gaming at this point, like if we just haven't seen the final form of what they can be doing with those styles of play. I mean, there hasn't been many. Well, I guess today in Europe there was smokeless compositions, but typically speaking, we don't see Viper in play anyway. So which is why we're so excited. If you guys are just tuning in, seeing her used and used effectively is just so cool to me.
I mean, it's pretty rare the fact that we see rays and kill spots with a utility as well. I mean, think about it. Whenever the bot gets sent out, the bot is reconnaissance, man. The bot isn't for kills. And then whenever they use one of those frag nades, I see frag nades to essentially clear out corners just as a way to where we don't have to face check it ultimately. Now, if a team can utilize race where they can save that type of utility for, you know, a 1v1 situation, whenever D-Cop wants to lurk around and try to find a 1v1 for his advantage, then I think Raze can go positive and have a huge impact on the game. But as long as they use her as pretty much a bootleg Sova, I don't see her having a lot of success in lineups, man.
You know what's interesting though? Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
No, okay, never mind. I just proved myself wrong, but I think some of the reason why like we've seen Raze almost fall short is because people are willing to drop the Cypher for a Killjoy or drop the Sova for a different duelist.
Yeah.
Like that's how you get the maximum value out of Raze. Getting like you mentioned, I use her nade, or like I think of her nade as a way to clear corners. But if you know 100% where someone is playing, if you get the information off of your Sova drone or off of a camera if you're on defense, like that maximizes her utility usage in a huge way. So you need her to have those sentinels, those intelligence operators to be like, not operators, but agents around the map to be like getting her value from her kit. And I wonder whether or not like adding more line of sight obstruction with Viper, Omen, Brim, whatever it may be, and less intelligence. Like I just think in general, Raze is
agent pairings
falling out of the meta. And maybe I'm smoking something, but I definitely think Reyna has shown me the light. I haven't even seen her be as successful until this week. I'm excited for it.
I didn't think she would be, to be completely honest. Sorry.
But we talked about it whenever she actually could get kills and self-heal and even overheal, kind of like losing Sage gave that opportunity for Reyna to shine. Kind of like when we didn't even know that when she was first introduced in the beta, when the game came out, that she was going to be so useful as an operator. So it's kind of given that limelight. But you talk about these pairings and stuff like that for the past two maps on the composition of what can maybe help Raze. But at the same time, I think when we think about the actual match that we just witnessed in this best out of 3 for mambamode Gaming, even though they won, but they lost badly on their map pick, you saw the last 2 maps when they played a Viper. What didn't they have in their composition is actually a Cypher too. So they're playing with no Cypher rather. So they're playing with a composition that doesn't give any information for flanks or cameras. So you really have to play on your toes and rotate a lot so that you could actually win these fights. So maybe do you try to keep a Cypher in there, but who do you lose at that point? That's the difficult stuff that you have to figure out when you want to try to bring somebody as Viper in. But with that, we can't theory craft longer because we're going to go for a break because we got another matchup coming up soon. We do have Rise coming up versus Luminosity Gaming, and that's going to be another good matchup. A revenge match probably for Rise against Luminosity Gaming, as KZ has dropped from the roster to play for LG, but we'll talk about that after the break. So with that, we're going to play a quick video here from the Pulse Arena series, and then also want to give a quick shout out to Fair Play, to AK Racing, and to FPX Play, or AGX Pay, sorry, for sponsoring our event. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we could talk about this next matchup.
He actually gets involved, dunks on to GMB, and he's gonna dunk on player 1 as well.
Pulls in for Immortals as well, and the wall bank comes through from Kohler, so the headshot, a sick falls down. 2 more to go. Travis still alive with Sinatra, but just under. A 4K coming through. That's a 1 versus 1. Sinatra here, can he get the ace clutch? Recon Owl to come out. Now he spots him. He springs to the box. He gets the frag onto Asuna, and the ace clutch coming in.
Who is this guy? Like, this isn't even Valorant. This is just Wardell's mind. He's just dominating that much. Drone opening up the kill for Wardell to get the ace kill. That's exactly
Wardell's like, give it to me, give it to me.